have you covered.
8:59, traffic and weather together. Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Heather?
Traffic is moving a little bit better southbound I-15, at least speed-wise, between Kaysville and Bountiful. But it is still stop and go almost that entire way due to an earlier crash. Still being cleaned up on the right shoulder near 500 West, but it's causing big issues for people on West Davis Corridor trying to get onto southbound I-15, as well as from US 89 onto I-15 or Legacy Parkway from Farmington to Bountiful. Andy?
North 15, you've got delays still coming over Point of the Mountain from Lehigh that breaks up for a bit, and now we've got some slowing on both sides of the freeway between 72nd and 90th South. If you're continuing towards downtown, reduce speeds in between 33rd South and the 6th South exit ramp. 201 freeway is backed up again now from Bangerter Highway over to 3200 West because I believe that there's a crash there. And we've got backups in Tooele trying to get to I-80 from SR 36. There's a crash there as well.
Today we'll get up to 80 degrees, lots of sunshine. 84 tomorrow is the warmest of the next 7. More clouds moving in on the weekend. Right now it's 64 downtown, and Inside Sources is coming up next on KSL.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: there are multiple deaths and injuries reported after a sniper attack on an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in North Texas.
Alongside a busy freeway northwest of downtown Dallas, police say a gunman opened fire on an ICE detention facility. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says the shots came from about 200 yards away.
It's a secure location, but it's not covered. And that's where I think the shots came in, from an elevated position down into the location.
3 people were shot, none of them ICE agents. As police were closing in on the gunman, Lyons says he took his own life. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Some local news we're following in Midvale. A couple has been found dead in their home after officers went in for a welfare check. The news is hard to believe for next-door neighbor Megan, who tells KSL TV she was taken in as a niece after moving in.
I spent the wife's birthday at the 4th of July birthday party. They crashed my 28th birthday party last year and just hung out, and I got to know them at the barbecues.
Police suspect the couple may have died in a murder-suicide. Megan says she only ever saw the husband act caring towards his wife. More information will be available as police continue their investigation. Roy police say the driver accused of hitting a woman before taking off has turned themselves in. The hit and run was originally reported yesterday morning around 3100 West and 4800 South. A 51-year-old woman was found injured in a yard outside of a home. The police department thanked everyone for their help in the search leading to the driver turning themselves in. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 39 points now. We're at 46,332. Coming up, a beautiful day in store. Lots of sunshine. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
If you are facing divorce, call Cordell and Cordell today.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. CordellCordell.com.
Did you work in uranium before 1990? Then you need to know that RECA is back. You may now qualify for compensation of $100,000. We provide the best in-home care for former energy workers. CNS Cares can guide you to the resources you need to file a claim. Call CNS Cares to find out if you are eligible. Let's make sure you get all the care and support you deserve. Call 855-CNS-RECA today.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next-day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We've got emergency traffic and weather brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here is Heather Kelly.
Yeah, the delays persist up in Davis County on all the major roadways. Southbound I-15, they start just before you get to Park Lane exit in Farmington, all the way down into Bountiful. If you're on Legacy Parkway, you'll see those slow down starting right where you merge on from I-15 or US 89, also all the way down into Bountiful. West Davis corridor is a mess right now. That is awful because you're having difficulty merging on to either I-15 or Legacy Parkway. That is backed up about 3 or 4 miles around the curve to 950 west, to 950 north. Everybody else, though, moving a bit better. Northbound I-15 still has a little bit of slowing, leaving Lehigh over the point of the mountain into Draper, and then again from Sandy into Murray, where a crash is still being cleaned up on the right shoulder right after the I-215 South interchange. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and water treatment needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air, we got this. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Another warm day today, a high of 80 degrees. We'll stay in the 80s through Saturday. A few more clouds moving in on Friday. Right now it's 64 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. Last night, if you were watching ABC, you didn't hear this if you were in Utah, but the other parts of the country heard Jimmy Kimmel.
So it came back after 6 days, I think,
6
of being
days
suspended.
off the air, yes. Yeah. ABC allowed its affiliates to make their election as to whether or not they wanted to re-air the show, and Jimmy Kimmel Live made its return. There were 2 markets that didn't, two groups of affiliates that didn't, Nexstar and Sinclair. Those are, in fact, the 2 largest affiliates, so that means most of the country didn't see Jimmy Kimmel. Utah didn't see Jimmy Kimmel, but
except you can stream it online.
Right, you can stream it online. Yes, Kimmel did thank his supporters and also thank those who didn't support him for defending the freedom of speech.
Who supported our show, cared enough to do something about it, to make your voices heard so that mine could be heard. I will never forget it. And maybe most of all, I want to thank the people who don't support my show and what I believe, but support my right to share those beliefs anyway. People who I never would have imagined, like Ben Shapiro, Clay Travis, Candace Owens, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, even my old pal Ted Cruz.
Yeah, and then Cruz has no doubt been the subject of his jokes over the years, but Ted Cruz did stand up to the plate with respect to this particular issue and say, at some point, we can't just continue to stifle speech.
And I think Jimmy Kimmel, I think, first of all, that's gracious. He did turn it into a joke, right? The punchline was finally something, the first thing I've agreed with Ted Cruz on, something like that. But I've seen, I just spoke about watching it online. You can see it on YouTube. His show from last night had 7 million views as of this morning. His typical one was about 240,000. So a lot of people were tuning in last night.
And I think Disney made the decision, ABC, because a lot of people were tuning out to
unsubscribing.
Right, and unsubscribing. He was emotional about his previous comments about Charlie Kirk.
You understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't, ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers, because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. Yeah!
And I think that's an important comment, right? That we live in a country that allows us to make a show like this. So it was interesting to me to see some of the reaction on social media, not only to his show, but what President Trump did. So Trump's administration, people around him were saying, look, this was a decision made by Disney. This was a business decision. This wasn't the government squashing free speech, except that yesterday before the show aired, the president posted on Truth Social, I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? And then he says, I think we're going to test ABC out on this one. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative, a true bunch of losers.
Yeah, and then he said that talking about Jimmy Kimmel, he is yet another arm of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. So that's why he justified his way of having ABC, tested on this issue.
Well,
because he's saying, well, this is a campaign contribution.
Right, exactly, which it's not, of course. It's not a campaign contribution, but he also kind of threw his own people under the bus who were trying to say, look, this isn't a government censorship of free speech. That's not what this issue is. They just canceled him because he wasn't bringing in viewers. And then, of course, the president in his social media post just kind of turned that on its head.
Surprised at the quick turnaround on this one, Holly. I mean, there was such backlash with ABC and Disney, and I think that it hit them harder than they expected. But 6 days, and it's I don't know what percentage of the market he's back if the two largest distributors are still out of the picture. But he certainly got his show back in some respect, and I don't know whether that means the other two will follow suit, or
I think
he'll be canceled again.
I think what we heard about both Sinclair and Nexstar is that they were going to put some news programming in that spot, but they were still evaluating. So I think it's possible that they can reconsider, right? I think they're going to have to look, too, at what their viewers want. But look, I mean, I think this is something where there was so much pushback that it actually made a difference.
Yeah, and we had heard, and I had seen that Disney really took a hit financially for this. It was something like a substantial amount of money. I mean, you never know what to believe, but I don't know that they felt like they had much of a choice but to do something and get back in the game because they were taking such a hard, I don't know, hit, not the right word, but people were bailing out of their systems.
Yeah, that's, there are consequences to actions, and we see that, and we've talked about free speech and what that actually means, and employers and employees. And, I thought it was particularly touching that he was emotional while he was acknowledging the death of Charlie Kirk. He also spoke with some emotion about Erica Kirk and her call for basically moving away from hate and then forgiveness.
Yeah. Pretty compelling. Well, I didn't watch him last night, but sounds like a lot of people did.
I saw clips.
Much more than
this
usual.
Morning early.
Right, yes.
So, look, last night, an Arizona special election gave Congress another Democrat, and basically it's somebody who filled a seat that was held by a Democrat, but that person passed away. That election is going to impact the Epstein files. We're going to talk about that after the break.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. We still have significant delays in Davis County, and a lot of them now are centered on West Davis corridor. You are going to be at a crawl from 950 North in Farmington all the way over to where you would actually merge onto either Legacy Parkway or southbound I-15. This is all due to the delays on I-15 that start at Parkland and Farmington into Bountiful from an earlier multi-vehicle crash that is mostly cleared. There's only one car sitting on the right shoulder near 500 West. So hopefully the speeds will start improving on all your roadways through Davis County. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free. You just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different.
TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
The United States is facing a mental health crisis, but there is hope. At Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, they're transforming how mental health is treated and researched, bringing compassion, innovation, and access to those who need it most. Your donation helps fund life-saving care and cutting-edge research that leads to better treatment for everyone. It's already making a difference. Huntsman Mental Health Foundation has built Utah's first ever mental health crisis care center, open 24/7 to anyone, regardless of ability to pay. They've also recently launched a youth crisis care program at Huntsman Mental Health Institute, giving kids and teens immediate support. And Huntsman Mental Health Foundation is expanding services like therapy, medication management, geriatric care, and treatment-resistant support. Join us. Be part of the change. Donate today at hmhf.org. That's hmhf.org.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Inside Sources.
So there was a special election in Arizona last night. This was under my radar, not on my radar, that gave Congress a Democrat, sort of. It filled a seat that had not been filled, and we're learning today that Adelita Grijalva was elected to replace her late father, who was in the House. He passed away, which meant they didn't have his vote. So now having that, it makes the makeup of the House 219 to 214. A
That's
Republican,
still the same.
Yeah, right. Republican majority. The numbers didn't change. It's just that Democratic seat hadn't been filled. It was vacant, so to speak. And but importantly, it may give enough signatures to release, or at least to vote on releasing the Epstein files.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's interesting. So before they even called the vote officially last night, they were asking her, and she said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm going to sign that discharge petition." So we actually have Cami Mondo on the line with us again. She's Deseret News congressional correspondent to help us understand how this election, this special election, will impact the release of the Epstein files. Welcome, Cami.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Hey, can you just break down for us what we're looking at with this election in Arizona and how that is going to impact the discharge petition?
Absolutely. So like you said, it's not really going to affect the voting margin in the House. Republicans still have the majority there. But what we've seen with this discharge petition to release the Epstein files, it requires 218 signatures in order to force a vote. It's been sitting at 217 for quite a while, with 4 Republicans and all Democrats. But now that this Democratic seat has been filled, Adelita Grijalva says she's going to sign that petition once she's sworn in. That'll bring it to the 218 signature threshold, and it will force a vote.
Cami, for how long has this seat been vacant? When did her father pass?
I believe that was earlier in March or sometime in the spring. I'm forgetting the exact date just because we've had quite a few Democrats who actually passed away in about a month's time between each other. So it's been several months since the seat has been vacant. And so that was just earlier this year.
Could you break down the timeline of what this looks like once she gets sworn into Congress?
Absolutely. So the House won't be in next week. They announced that they would stay in recess, pending a government shutdown. And so we're going to see that second week of October, she's going to be sworn in. Once she is eligible to sign that discharge petition. Once that reaches the 218 threshold, that petition is then, frozen. No one can add or take away their signatures at that point. And then it has to sit there for 7 legislative days, meaning 7 days that the House is in Congress. They are working and voting. And then once those 7 days are up, they can request a floor vote. And once that request is made, GOP leaders have only 2 days to actually schedule and hold the vote.
So getting that 218 threshold, Cami, means that at least 4 Republicans are flipping, or flipping's maybe not the right word, but they're going to join Democrats in voting to release this, correct?
Correct. So we have Thomas Massie, who's the Republican who led the discharge petition, and then we had 3 other Republicans. So it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert, who also signed on to this discharge petition, which will eventually, push them over the marker once Adelita Grijalva signs on.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Cami. We're going to have to go to breaking news right now. I appreciate that update. Officials are providing an update about a shooting that took place at an ICE facility in Dallas, and Mayor Eric Johnson was speaking just a few moments ago.
That was shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI Field Office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the ICE Enforcement and Removal Office.
We're hearing from authorities involved in this
My name is
Dallas
Joshua
shooting
Johnson.
at the
I'm the
ICE
acting
facility.
Field Office Director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all so much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Ted Cruz is there as well. He has been asked a question. We'll hear from him now.
Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree, that's fine, that's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray, number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe. And we should not be putting language out there that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle to say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Senator, have you been told that immigrants...
We'll be right back.
In Summit County have found a missing kayaker dead at Echo Reservoir. Summit County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Skylar Talbot says they found the victim's empty kayak after they were called to the reservoir last night around 5:30 by the victim's adult son.
I do know that in the process of this search, we did recover a life jacket believed to have belonged to this individual. That life jacket was located in the water.
Talbot says they've identified the victim as a 56-year-old man from Salt Lake County. It took crews about 7 hours to find his body. We don't know yet what caused the man to go under the water. Authorities are still investigating. It was a deadly summer on Utah's lakes and reservoirs, and safety experts say taking just a few precautions can save lives. On average, there are 31 drowning deaths per year in Utah, and Project Zero Drowning reports drowning can happen in as little as 20 seconds. Leno Franco tells KSL his son Calum was strong, but 14 years ago, the cold water caused Calum's legs to cramp.
He let go of his brother, who had the life preserver, and drowned there on the spot.
Calum was not wearing a life jacket at the time. Safety advocates say no matter the conditions of the water, life jackets should be worn at all times. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Shots rang out at an ICE facility in Dallas this morning. ABC's Aaron Katersky.
It appears that several people have been shot, some fatally, according to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem a short while ago. The shooter is dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound on the roof of a building, and so it appears that the shooter, believed to be a young man, maybe in his 20s or 30s, according to sources, was positioned as sniper-type fire.
Details about who was targeted are still being investigated. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 31 points. We're at 46,260. Coming up, a warm, sunny day ahead for us. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hello, Utah. I'm Josh with IWC Roofing. For over 25 years, my family has been safeguarding your homes with the finest roofing solutions. We value your time, and we're committed to replacing most roofs in just one day with a peace of mind 50-year shingle warranty. Call us today at 801-232-5690 or visit iwcroofingutah.com. Ask us for the $1,500 off any full roof replacement. Financing available, 801-232-5690. Utah homeowners, look no further than IWC Roofing for a roof that stands the test of time. With 25 years of excellence, IWC is your trusted family-owned roofing expert. At IWC, we offer one-day roof replacements with top-tier quality materials, all with a 50-year shingle warranty. To keep a leaky roof from dampening your day, we're offering $1,500 off a full roof replacement. Get a free estimate. Call 801-232-5690 or visit iwcroofingutah.com. 801-232-5690.
Hey guys, it's Woodrow from Mint Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with ED? Well, you are not alone, and now there's a real solution that treats the root cause, not just the symptoms. Introducing our trifecta approach, a breakthrough combination of acoustic wave therapy, hormone replacement, and cryotherapy, all designed to restore blood flow, boost performance, and rebalance your hormones. Whether it's ED or hormonal imbalance, if you're ready to reignite your love life, this treatment helps bring back your energy, your drive, and your confidence. And right now, when you call, you'll receive a free consultation, a blood flow ultrasound, and an intimacy gift. That's a $650 value, absolutely free. And here's the bonus. The next 20 callers will also receive a 5-night stay at a luxury resort in Hawaii just for taking the first step. But you must call now. With 2 convenient locations in Layton and Sandy, help is closer than you think. Call 801-804-8000 now. That's 801-804-8000. Mint Medical Clinic. We'll get you back to mint condition.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Let's go! You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs. You sound very... Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees. Ooma. Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we still have just a little bit of slowing southbound I-15 through most of Centerville, heading toward Bountiful from an earlier crash that's now been cleared. All the lanes are open. No more vehicles over on the right shoulder. It's just taking traffic a little bit longer to get all the way back up to freeway speeds. We also still have a bit of slowing out in Tooele County, where people are merging on from SR 36 onto eastbound I-80. Not only do you have the construction there, but there's also a crash right at the merge. They have tucked themselves behind those barrels, but the flashing lights are slowing people down. And then another crash northbound I-15 in Murray, still over on the right shoulder before you get to 53rd South, and that sometimes will cause some brake lights. See your favorite characters in the spooktacular smash hit Halloween performance this fall, Thriller. Experience the fall tradition everyone is talking about. Tickets to Thriller on sale now at odysseydance.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be another warm day today, sunny with highs in the 80s. Rest of the week is much the same. More clouds moving in on Friday morning. Right now, it's 66 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Granite School District is recommending the closure of Eastwood Elementary. Eastwood Elementary is on about 33rd South Wasatch Boulevard, serves the Mount Olympus Hills area. As you might expect, parents and kids are upset about it. Here's more from KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff.
The protest took place ahead of a boundary study meeting put on by the Granite School District. Steve Hogan is the director of the Population Analysis Committee.
School boundaries, the proposal from the PAC to the board is the school boundaries of Oak Ridge and Eastwood would be combined, meaning Eastwood being recommended to be closed.
Nastasia Mangone feels like the district is just moving too fast.
Since
the decision was made have uncovered so many discrepancies, misleading information. They need to slow down this process and really take a step back and look at what all of the data is there.
The meeting lasted nearly 4 hours and got heated at times with residents shouting at district officials. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
We're joined right now by Granite School District Superintendent Ben Horsley. Ben Horsley, that sounds like a fun meeting last night.
Yeah, I left the meeting around 11:20 last night. Wanted to make sure we took the opportunity to hear from every resident who showed up and have opportunity to visit with them and get their feedback.
Ben, I take it the decision to close this school is based on the population shifting and the fact that the school keeping the school open may not be justified in terms of the decreased population in that area, and that the school is being combined with another school nearby. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have 2 schools in that Olympus Cove area, and the population in particular for this one and the recommendation for the closure comes straight up from the numbers. We have 171 kids who actually live in that boundary, and only 125 of them actually attend that particular school. So open enrollment has drawn kids from other places and actually drawn them back to Eastwood. We have a little over 200 kids who actually go to school there. But those small schools cause a number of challenges and difficulties when you're trying to provide opportunities for our students and for our families.
What's the nearest elementary school in Granite District to that particular, to Eastwood Elementary?
There's 2 that are a little less than or a little more than a mile and a half. I believe Oak Ridge is where we're proposing. This is all a proposal right now. It's no final decision has been made. We believe as we looked at those 2 locations and perhaps consolidating, both the buildings need to be rebuilt and replaced. And so that will happen. That is on the schedule in the next few years. But at the same time, their numbers do not justify rebuilding both. And so we do feel like we could adequately provide staffing and resources at an appropriate economy of scale if one of those 2 schools is to remain open.
So can I ask you, especially for our listeners, how is feedback from parents being considered?
Well, this is a year-long process. I know some people might feel that's a little bit rushed, but the stress of a boundary closure, of a potential closure in your community, going from February to December before a final decision is made is really difficult and challenging. Our actual proposal was we studied all the schools in the area and came up with several recommendations to narrow the scope just recently, and now we're going through the process of obtaining feedback on that proposal. We've already made some adjustments to the proposal. We'll continue to listen to feedback and make any additional adjustments before a final recommendation is made to the board in November.
Okay, and so what we'd be talking about, Ben, would then be for the next school year, the 26-27 school year?
That's usually what takes place, and these studies take place over a calendar year and take place. The efficacy of that new boundary or closure would not take place until the following fall. Correct.
So I know one of the people that attended the meeting last night said that the walk would be hard, if not impossible, for some kids. Is it in a safe area? Can kids get to school safely if you close this school?
The fact is, we do believe that while there's only a portion of those students who would be eligible for transportation, by and large, the vast majority of the students who currently attend Eastwood would likely be eligible for a guest pass or a courtesy stop. And so that's another reason why this recommendation is that we would not have to provide an overwhelming amount of transportation because most kids would be able to continue to walk to school. There's concerns about buses going up into that area. We've evaluated that. We feel comfortable that the road is traversable. Those are priority 1 roads for Mill Creek City when there is a snow issue. And so, yeah, we do feel comfortable that the due diligence has been done with respect to potential safe walking routes and opportunities for transportation as appropriate.
We're speaking this morning with Granite School District Superintendent Ben Horsley. And can you tell our listeners, Ben, how the public hearing process works and whether this is the first of several or what other input you're going to get from the public before making the final decision?
So the narrowed scope and the actual formal recommendations came out earlier this month. And then these are the first of a few meetings. We've now held 3 different meetings with respective school communities. These were more of the broader community meetings that anybody could attend. Now we'll be meeting with specific communities as requested. We kind of leave the month of October open to schedule meetings as appropriate and as requested from respective communities and with individual teachers at schools before we make a final recommendation so that we can address any potential questions that we've not been able to take into consideration. This is a fairly lengthy public input process. These are all, I would consider, more Q&A town hall style meetings. An actual public hearing where people can come and voice their questions or concerns will actually happen in November and December. So we actually vote. The board will actually vote on the final recommendation. They can choose to accept that recommendation, alter the recommendation, or not follow the recommendation. That will be up to the board in November and December.
Thank you, Ben, for joining us. We appreciate that. That was Ben Horsley, Superintendent for Granite School District. And, you know, it's interesting. People have really strong emotional connections to their schools and their kids' schools. And I think
Absolutely.
That's part of it, right? I mean, it makes sense to me on the surface that you're talking about demographic shifts. I know there's other school districts that are looking at closing schools, but wow, parents can get emotional.
Yeah, and, I was thinking about it just from my own personal perspective. I went to school in Granite District at Woodstock Elementary.
Yeah.
I think I would have been sad if they closed that, but even though I have no stake in the game at all anymore.
Right,
except
exactly.
being an alum.
Look, we've been speaking this week about acetaminophen use in pregnancy. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with an OBGYN on the risks of fever to unborn babies and what expectant mothers need to know. That's streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Cooler weather. What a relief. Unless you have old drafty windows. Soon the heat will escape through the cracks and your energy bill's going to go through the roof. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products and get brand new state-of-the-art custom windows and frames at factory direct pricing. The factory is right here in Salt Lake City where they've been building precision windows since 1986. And you're going to save a lot of money since there's no middleman markup. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows. Even better, call now and they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Double pane argon-filled windows with a low-energy triple coating, any style, any color, and Advanced Windows gives you a lifetime warranty. If you have an issue, they're not 10 states away. They're right here in town, and they offer 0% 60-month financing. So make the call now. Get $2,500 off. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
There's no better place to fall in love with fall than Logan, Utah. Honestly, it's kind of hard to imagine fall right now because it's been so blasted hot this summer. But I promise Logan is the place for cooler temperatures and even cooler events. You absolutely have to come to the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival September 27th. These ain't your mama's pumpkins, although I don't really know what that means. But anyway, last year, the record-breaking gourd tipped in at over 2,100 pounds. That's more than 3 grand pianos. Professional pumpkin carvers, family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, live music, more than 100 vendors, and fantastic fall fun. Coming up, we've got the American West Heritage Center's Fall Harvest Festival, the North Logan Pumpkin Walk, 2 giant corn mazes that may or may not be haunted, concerts, historic downtown ghost tours, and more. Don't even ask me when the leaves will be turning because at this point, your guess is as good as mine. But it doesn't matter because whenever you come to Logan, it's always beautiful. Visit explorelogan.com to plan your autumn adventures today. explorelogan.com.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
The new Inside Sources.
It's been less than 48 hours since the Trump administration advised doctors to stop prescribing Tylenol to pregnant women because of its link to, apparent link, or a stated link, I guess, to autism in children. There wasn't necessarily reasonable studies that supported that, but the president felt that there was enough study to make that recommendation. It's caused a lot of confusion. It's caused a lot of concern. Of course, we're talking about acetaminophen, the main ingredient in Tylenol. And the people at Tylenol, of course, are saying, wait a minute, there's no connection here between the use of this drug during pregnancy and autism. But it only makes sense that we get word from the medical experts.
Right, exactly. So as mentioned, there has been some confusion, and there's confusion about why people are recommending Tylenol in pregnancy. So we thought we would go to the experts, and we have Dr. Carrie Gordon on the line. She's an OBGYN with the Ogden Clinic. And I wonder if you can just tell our listeners, Dr. Gordon, some of the risks of fever to an unborn baby.
Yeah, hi, hello. I think the important thing here is to understand that fever and pain in pregnancy when untreated can cause pretty significant risks to an unborn baby. It really depends a little bit on how far along the pregnancy is, but especially in the first trimester, you can actually cause significant birth defects in a baby, things like neural tube defects, cleft lip, and other cardiac or heart defects as well.
And is acetaminophen better? I don't pretend to know the prescription part of this, but at reducing fever than, say, ibuprofen or aspirin, or maybe it has less risks?
Yeah, I mean, they all have the ability to reduce fever. Unfortunately, during pregnancy, there are significant complications with ibuprofen use or even high-dose aspirin use in pregnancy. So we don't recommend those two options. In an unpregnant woman, we definitely recommend them for fever reduction. But if you use ibuprofen or high-dose aspirin in pregnancy, it actually can cause closure of a specific structure in a baby's heart that can cause right heart failure. It can affect lung development for a baby. It can affect the amount of fluid around the baby, which obviously is very important for that baby for development. And it also can cause excessive bleeding, and there has even been association with miscarriage of use of those medications. So Tylenol or acetaminophen does seem to be the safest fever reduction in pregnancy.
So, Dr. Gordon, what is the threshold for a fever for a mom? Like, when should a mom be concerned?
Yeah, any temperature above 100.3 degrees Fahrenheit is considered a fever. When I talk to my patients, and obviously I would always encourage a patient, if they're having symptoms or concerns of an infection or fever, that they should definitely address that with their physician, because sometimes the underlying infection is even more important to get a hold of than the fever itself. But 100.3 is sort of the threshold that I would use, especially if it's a persistent fever. I always encourage patients to use other techniques maybe initially, things like cooling blankets or ice packs. But if you have a persistent fever above that temperature, you definitely can cause some risks that are unnecessary and could be avoided.
And Dr. Gordon, what do you think is the current state of the scientific evidence as it relates to acetaminophen and its risk to cause autism in children?
Yeah, I think we've had decades of studies, probably thousands of studies that look at an association between autism, ADHD, acetaminophen. There definitely is not any causation, which is different. So I don't think that there's clear evidence at all that shows that there's causation for those things. I think there's a lot of research that still is being done in order to answer some of these finite questions. But, we know autism and ADHD development is complex. And so I think the evidence really does support acetaminophen use in pregnancy and that it is a safe option for pain and fevers. But I do think more research definitely needs to be done.
Thank you for that. Is there an issue with potentially taking too much acetaminophen?
Oh, sure. There's always maximum amounts of any medication, right? So when I talk to patients about using that for pain or fever, we always recommend lowest dose for the shortest duration of time. We don't really want to put anything extra in our body that's unnecessary, whether pregnant or not. Most people will use a threshold between 3 to 4 grams in a day basis, which is quite a bit of acetaminophen, honestly. And most people don't go anywhere near that amount.
And can you tell us, this may be out of your wheelhouse a little bit, but if you know much about the other drug that was recommended during that same press conference as a treatment for individuals with autism?
Yeah, I actually don't know much about that.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit different question.
Okay, I have a question about a trend that I think it's because of the administration's remarks, right? But there's a Tylenol trend happening on social media where pregnant women are taking Tylenol on camera, and sometimes it looks like they're taking a lot of it. What is your response, or what's your advice to people who are doing that?
Yeah, I think taking excessive amounts of medication that's unnecessary, regardless if it's considered or safe or not, is really not recommended. Anytime you're going to take medication in pregnancy, I would always talk with your OBGYN and discuss the amounts. There are clearly safe amounts of Tylenol. I don't know. I haven't seen that trend. I'm sure I will at some point. But I wouldn't do that. This is not about getting social media media hits, this is about safety not only for mom but for baby. So I really wouldn't recommend high doses of anything really in pregnancy.
And then one final question, if you don't mind. We have a texter who asks, doesn't pregnancy itself raise a mom's body temperature?
Oh, I mean, well, your baseline temperature doesn't actually increase, but it does change your metabolism, your blood flow. There's multiple things that happen, but those small changes are not going to affect fetal growth at all.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess I have one more final question. Sorry. So again, for moms who have questions, especially with what seems to be conflicting advice coming from the federal administration and many organizations for physicians, et cetera, what is your best advice for moms who have questions?
I would always recommend that they discuss any kind of concerns or questions, abnormal symptoms with their OBGYN. There is a lot of information out there, some of it good, some of it bad, but I feel like this is a patient-physician discussion that needs to happen, and having a good relationship with your provider and having open communication with what your concerns on is always the best advice.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Carrie Gordon, OBGYN with the Ogden Clinic. And that's consistent with other medical experts that we've talked to since the press release. And even I think the World Health Organization came out.
They did. They weighed in yesterday
and said, "Wait a minute, let's not make such a quick decision on banning or at least telling doctors not to tell their
recommend
Tylenol to their patients who are pregnant."
Yeah, I think the overall recommendation we're hearing is please talk to your care provider, right? Please, don't get your advice from social media. And at this point, you're starting to see large physician groups and other care providers say, look, we need to have this conversation. That's what Dr. Gordon just said. We need to have this conversation with our clients, our patients who are coming in and who may or may not have questions, right? But don't go getting your advice from social media. That's probably good advice.
Right. And it was, we started the show with Jimmy Kimmel, who said, I don't know who had a worse week, me or the CEO of Tylenol. Yeah. Things like this happen and statements like this are made, whether supported by medical evidence or not, and it can make a huge difference in the way, people just look at this and go, okay, well, now what do I do? So I'm glad you asked that question at the end, which is, hey, what do we do?
Go talk to your provider.
Right. American Fork, the city of American Fork, is talking about restricting the number of pets people can own. I hope they get this message to my wife. If we're interested in hearing from you, what do you think? Should there be limits on how many pets you can own? If so, text us at 57500. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. One victim is dead as well as the shooter after shots were fired at an ICE facility in Dallas.
Alongside a busy freeway northwest of downtown Dallas, police say a gunman opened fire on an ICE detention facility. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says the shots came from about 200 yards away.
It's a secure location, but it's not covered. And that's where I think the shots came in, from an elevated position down into the location.
3 people were shot, none of them ICE agents. As police were closing in on the gunman, Lyons says he took his own life. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Parents and kids from Eastwood Elementary held a protest of the school's recommended closure outside of Skyline High School. During a boundary study meeting after the protest, Population Analysis Committee Director Steve Hogan explained what they looked at before recommending the closure.
First, we look at how many students live there, because that's our basic ingredient. That's what we're working with when it comes to boundary changes and school closures.
Several parents say they feel like the school district is moving too fast. The meeting lasted nearly 5 hours and got heated at times, with residents shouting at district officials. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down now, 151. That's 0.3%. We're at 46,140. Coming up, 80 degrees and sunny skies today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:01. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Garden Restaurant has been open for a few months, and if you haven't stopped by, now is the time to get downtown and check out what everyone's been raving about. And if you have visited the new space, schedule a time to come on back. Grab a friend and come visit one of Salt Lake's best gathering spots for lunch. You'll be greeted by the delicious smell of fresh baked goods like our famous Lionhouse rolls, perfect for taking home for family dinners. Or maybe you have a sweet tooth and are craving one of our brand new cinnamon rolls. They're the size of a dinner plate and perfect for sharing between a group of friends. Come smell and taste the garden for yourself. Enjoy the beautifully reimagined space and convenient location with new street access on the ground floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building. Open weekdays 11 to 3. Choose from healthy and delicious options like the turkey pot pie, jalapeno pork and grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato bisque soup, and nut and berry salad. All favorites not to be missed. So much to choose from. Check out the menu at thegardenslc.com. Fresh flavors, iconic location, The Garden Restaurant.
The power of we believes in you. It advocates for you. It completes your circle. It makes sure you have the strongest circle possible. And with Intermountain Health in yours, you'll always have the care you need to live the healthiest life possible. That's the power of we. Intermountain Health.
Hey, want to hear something great? Right now at Wendy's, you can get 2 of the #1 selling bacon cheeseburger in all fast food, the JBC, plus medium fries and a medium soft drink for just $8. Want to hear something else great? Double the burger means double the bacon. Now that's a game changer. 2 of the #1 bacon cheeseburgers with fries and a drink for just $8. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Individual items at regular price.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, a crash on SR 36 right at the ramp to eastbound I-80 just cleared. There's one emergency vehicle left on the scene. They're about to pull away, though. So most of the slowing is gone as you try to get out of Tooele County. Now, we still have a crash northbound I-15 in Murray. It's approaching the 53rd South exit. That is over on the right shoulder. That car just got loaded up onto a tow truck, so those vehicles should be pulling away soon as well. And right now you still have a little bit of slowdown southbound I-15 between Beck Street and downtown Salt Lake City. That should clear out very quickly. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in a KSL Traffic Center.
We should get up to 80 degrees today in Salt Lake City with lots of sunshine. We get even warmer tomorrow with a high of 84, and the KSL Weather Center says this week many of the fall leaves are at their peak. Right now it's 68 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Question: how many pets is too many? Well, the American Fork City Council opened up the conversation about the number of pets that should be allowed in homes within those city limits. And the discussion becomes, should there be a limit? And so what I did, Holly, is I looked up the code in as many cities as I can, and if I were to break it down, there's really 2 groups, and there are a lot of cities, so I didn't look at every one, but there are cities that don't have a limit. Right. They don't express a limit.
Nothing.
And those that do, it's usually 3 pets, not 3 dogs, not 3 cats, 3 pets. So you have that limit. And then it becomes you have to get what's called a kennel license if you want to have more than 3 pets. You have to be a kennel, obviously. So if 3 pets at your house is the limit in most cities, and I think that's what American Fork City is looking at. Should we set that limit at 3 pets? Or, I mean, we all have neighbors who push the envelope. They've got a lot of pets.
I didn't know that there was a limit. I don't even.
Oh, no.
You should look up Pleasant Grove and tell me if there's a limit, and then maybe I will tell you how many we have.
I'll bet there is. Yeah, I mean, because I think almost every city's got a limit. Really.
Well, that's so interesting because I didn't know that. So I live in an area where we have animal rights. So I know that based on having an acre, I can have 2 horses or a cow. Right, which I don't want to have, by the way, and I can have a certain number of chickens because it's based on size. But it seems to me like that would be part of the argument for having a limit on pets. Are you living in a townhome or do you have a single family home? Is it 1,000 square feet? Is it 5,000 square feet? Does that make a difference? It doesn't. From what you're saying, it doesn't sound like it does, but.
Right. So what I have are the Salt Lake County cities. There are a number of them: Bluffdale, Midvale, Murray. Each of these cities have their own ordinances, and then there's sort of the unincorporated area. So I'll look outside of Salt Lake County, but there are. I mean, really, it's true. Every city has their own ordinances.
Yeah,
with pet. So it's not state law.
Right,
It's
exactly.
one of those things that the cities can make their own determination.
Right, it's city rule. But what's so interesting is I thought that it was the number of chickens, right? That there has been over a number of years a conversation about, can you have backyard chickens and what does that look like and what cities allow it and what cities don't allow it, right? And backyard chickens seem different to me than saying, can you have cats and or dogs?
Right. So what they've also done, that's a great question, is define what a pet is. Because obviously tropical fish, would not be a pet for the purpose of this. Chickens would probably not be considered a pet for the purposes of this. Although cities, and I'm looking at this also, limit, and this is even within jurisdictions, almost like your HOA or your neighborhood. Yeah. Can you have a chicken coop in your neighborhood? You know what I mean? On your property.
Yeah.
I know my wife would love to raise chickens, but our little unit where we live won't allow it. We're not an HOA, but it's an organization. No chicken coops, which I'm happy. I'm very happy with that. Although my wife would love to have those.
Okay, so but what is the definition of a pet? So cats and dogs, right? But there was a hoarding case, and maybe that's why American Fork is considering this. But remember, at the end of August, there were 97 dogs and 1 tortoise that were taken out of a home in Salt Lake. I can agree that that's too many, right? I think that's clear. But what if you have 1 cat, 1 dog, and an inside rabbit and a turtle? Then you have 4. Then you're too many.
Yeah, that's probably not actually, because if you're limited to cats and dogs, so if you have something like a horse, you have to be in an area that's zoned for equine. You have to be that area is or livestock, cattle. Right. You can't just go buy a goat, I guess, for your yard.
I live in an area that's zoned rural residential, so I do have animal rights in the backyard, and we used to have chickens, and we don't anymore, but we used to. But I'm still intrigued at this limit on pets, and I understand if you're saying, if you have 4 dogs and you live in a small condo and your neighbors are complaining, maybe that's an issue. But we have 3 dogs and 1 cat.
Ooh, so I'm going to just advise you now that you have the right to remain silent.
I don't live in American Fork.
Okay. You don't even need to tell us what city you're in. But you may want to check, Holly, and ignorance is not a defense. But chances are you're going to be fine. But there are cities that limit your number of pets. Cats and dogs are both considered pets for the purposes of this law to 3, period. Now, maybe some of our listeners can text us at 57500 and let us know. Certainly, I mean, rural areas, and I think I would consider where I live a rural area. Yeah. But no, they're not too keen on having too many pets up there in the Ogden Valley. But everybody has their own. You got to know where you are with respect to your community.
That's true. So ownership of pets, this is from a texter. Ownership of pets should definitely be limited in the interest of pets and the community. Families should have no more than 2 dogs or no more than 2 cats or a combination of both. And another one says the animal number is on the books to enforce issues that become a problem. And another texter says, having it so you need a kennel license for more than 3 pets, I agree with. It keeps things from happening like what happened in the Ogden home several weeks ago where they had to rescue several dozen animals, right? The hoarding that we talked about.
Our listeners are brilliant. I mean, I agree with all 3 of those. I would also say this. A dog that barks should count as 3 pets all by itself. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point.
So I have a question, right? You talked about a kennel license, but what if you have 2 dogs and 2 cats, right? So you don't have 3 of either one, but you have 4 total.
A pet's a pet. For the purpose,
but when I look at the kennel, more like
No, I understand what you're saying. It's
puppy breeding?
No, it absolutely is to prevent people from having, 27 pets. So, I mean, if you have a dog that has pups, then you have some period of time to get rid of them. But a pet's a pet, really, seriously. And I'm not saying you go get a kennel license, because you're not going to get a kennel license.
Right.
It's not that easy. What I'm saying is there's an exception for kennels
Yeah.
to the rule regarding
Of
the
only
number
having
of
3.
pets.
Oh,
right,
I
yes.
see.
So yes, as I read virtually every statute I've looked at so far, and again, I've only stayed along the Wasatch Front, pets include cats and dogs, period, not rabbits and tortoises and things like that, and the limit is 3. Now, I would say that zoning, like rabbits, chickens, things like that, have their own animal.
You are so funny.
But yeah, they then you'd have to look at what your community allows you to have, because those are often raised for breeding, for eggs, obviously with
if
chickens.
it's chickens,
right? And so there's another purpose for those, which is not just to have something cuddly to play with.
We have a couple of other texts that came in. So this texter says where they're from, their zoning or properties have a certain number of, quote, agricultural units. So, for example, if you have one agricultural unit, and where I live, that's an acre, but that's the same as 1 horse or 1 cow, but it can also equal 20 chickens. Actually, it might be a half an acre where I live. I don't think there's any problem with the city establishing their zoning so that you can have different agricultural units. So a large dog might be 0.4, and you can only have 0.5 at a standard home, right? So there's also another texter that says they have the opposite of me, 3 cats and a dog. Layton City has a regulation for 3 pets, and you can have chickens in Layton if your lot is a certain size, limited to 8, no roosters. And then another one reminds us that service animals do not count as pets.
Yeah, I was going to say that service animals do not. I'm on the ski patrol, and I give advice to our patrollers who raise avalanche dogs, which are one definition of service animals. I would also say this: sometimes your local, we had a condominium in Park City, and they had a strict rule that you couldn't have a dog bigger than 5 pounds or 10 pounds.
Wow,
I forget what it was, but
small.
one animal
had
to be a small
dog.
pup. Yeah, I even put out a bird feeder once, and they put a note on my door that said,
my gosh.
"It attracts rodents or something." They made me take it down.
Yeah, it probably does attract rodents. So yeah, that's an interesting conversation. So American Forks, the city council didn't take a vote on this, but it is something that they are looking at and talking about. And I learned something, and maybe I will have to look up my city code.
Or maybe you should not.
And then I can just
ignorance
plead
is bliss. There you go. Right.
All right. Look, some social media trends are not particularly smart. We just talked about one, actually. But some are downright dangerous. And 2 teenagers now have been charged for dangerous and reckless behavior because of a stunt they were trying to do that left one person dead and another one person brain injured. That's coming up next. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
We're joined in studio right now by Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Amato Real Estate. We've got a couple of questions for you. My first question for you is, what trends are you seeing right now as we're moving into fall? We're getting to the end of September.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the interest rates have actually come down a little bit. And so we're seeing a little bit busier fall season than what we normally see. And so activity is definitely picking up.
We talked to you a little while ago, and you had the foresight to know that you seemed to know that the interest rates were coming down. And in fact, I think lenders had anticipated that a little bit, and some of the lending rates had already dropped. Do you anticipate that that's going to continue?
Well, so kind of how it works is when the Fed starts talking about, lowering the interest rate, the market moves quicker than what they actually do. So even though the Fed did just come out and they reduced the interest rate by a quarter basis point, the market had already adjusted. And so we've already kind of seen that interest rate. It came down a couple weeks ago, and we're sitting in that lower rate. So I don't foresee it coming down very much more, at least immediately.
Yeah. What is that rate in the 5s now? Is it just under 6, or what's the average?
So a lot of it depends,
okay. Well, of course,
on credit and everything. But we are definitely seeing buyers that are getting into the high 5s. But I would say, kind of what to bank on it is more low to mid 6s.
Low to mid 6s. So what about buyers who are feeling really discouraged by affordability? Utah's so high, it feels like.
It is. And the one thing I say about that is it feels, unaffordable today. But typically what we see historically over time, that your payment, the cost of housing is going to go up. And so buying today is actually the best way to lock in that rate long term versus waiting and hoping it's going to come down and then actually having it go up.
Russell, can you stick around?
I will be here.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Fall is my favorite time of year, and it turns out it's your plant's favorite time of the year, too. I'm back at Replenish Landscape Garden Products. Greg and Mike are here. Greg, it turns out your plants really like this time of year. It cools off, obviously, but they still need their nutrients.
They do, and it's a great time to put compost down, whether you're trying to get a few extra weeks out of your plants or if you're getting ready for next year. It's going to have a chance to work throughout the winter time and start breaking down the nutrients so they're available when you plant in the spring.
Mike, I'm thinking of two things. One is protecting those roots during the winter season. The other is feeding them this time of year is important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most important things to do throughout the winter time is to protect those roots.
Get the best compost available right now at Replenish Landscape Garden Products. Buy it in bulk, buy it in bag, or have it delivered from 4660 South 200 West in Murray. Call them at 801-262-5142 or find them online at replenishcompost.com. It's good stuff.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Inside Sources.
Now, some social media trends are not particularly smart, and some are just dangerous. Now, several teens have been charged with dangerous and reckless behavior. And if you've seen the videos of this, Holly, these kids, one of the stunts, one of the latest, I guess, new wave of car stunt challenges is this. It's almost like you get people in a circle, and then the cars do donuts and spin around and around and around and around. Well,
that's dumb.
Yeah,
and
crazy
dangerous.
in the first place and dangerous. And two incidents that involve car stunt challenges on social media. One of them turned deadly. Prosecutors in Pennsylvania are filing charges in respect to that. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schultze.
Prosecutors say the teen was driving in a parking lot when his friend, 17-year-old David Nagy, who was sitting on the table, was killed. In a separate case in Pennsylvania, a 19-year-old is accused of aggravated assault. Prosecutors claim she drove her car while her friend stood on the trunk as part of another social media challenge. The friend fell and suffered permanent brain damage.
You know, I think it's easy when you're 17, 18, 19, and I'm as guilty as anyone of this when I was that age, to think that a car is a toy, or at least, hey, stand on my car, sit on the hood, we'll drop you off the back and But it
it's so dumb. So you know what I've seen that I think is dumb, and I'm not promoting it as a social media trend. So I haven't seen it on social media, but people who get pulled behind a car on icy roads, like they're tobogganing, right?
Hooky
so,
bob.
So
we used to call that hooky
yeah,
bobbing.
you said that before.
We used to do it all the time.
So dumb. Okay, so we actually have more on this. One of the really tragic cases. I'm sure it's not the only one, but this is the county district attorney on this specific incident.
The juvenile driver recklessly operated his vehicle at a significant speed, such that it whipped the rider sitting on the table into another parked vehicle.
So that would justify a reckless homicide. What they're saying is that's the district attorney describing the mental state for why they're charging this, recklessly operating a vehicle at a significant speed and causing the death of another person.
So I had to wonder, like, what is the table? Well, I found out it was an upside-down folding table that they tied onto it, and then he was whipping around and whipped his friend right off and killed him.
Oh, the table was like
literally a folding table tied on upside down.
Okay, because another incredibly dangerous thing we used to do in the winter, we would tie inner tubes to the back of cars.
Yeah.
And Mom would drive us around the streets and whip us into the curb. And if you think about when you hit the curb, I mean, we used to do the nuttiest things. And, you know.
Is that also called hooky bob?
Well, no, because hooky was with your hand, but it was the same idea.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know. It just seemed like we had so much snow and they never plowed the streets. And so, you know, we'd have parents who would literally let you.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Is
but
I've
if you
seen
came around
cars
a corner
tied on
fast, and you think about the curb, it's like 6-inch lift. If you hit that at a high rate of speed, you know, you hope that you're.
I'm glad we've learned more in our wise old years.
How did I make it to this old age, given all that nuttiness that we did? I mean, social media. I mean, we talk about this in respect to all kinds of things, but it's. You know, it's a phase. You have what was that one where they used to dump water on people's head?
Yeah,
like,
the ice challenge. It actually raised a ton of money, though. But yeah.
But that one was not so dangerous. But some of these, you know, driving your car and do some cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a time when people were trying to jump over a car coming at a high rate of speed. That you could,
my gosh.
if you could jump at least 4 feet, whatever the height of a car is, and while it came underneath you, and then you could land, and it was cool if you nailed it, but it wasn't too cool if you didn't. But I remember that was a fad for a little while. That
we've talked before on the show about dangerous social media trends, and one of them, if you remember, was like train car surfing, and people have died on that one.
Right, yes.
In not good ways.
Where you're sort of running across the top of train cars, and what the individual hit, there was something that was like a bridge or something
it was as they go into a tunnel.
Right,
there wasn't enough clearance, so that's gross. So this is one, and the reason it stood out to me is there were charges actually filed on this 17-year-old. I don't know if we know how old the other one was, but. A 19-year-old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, sometimes I get super nervous when I see kids in the back of pickup trucks because I know that head injuries can really be deadly, right? And you can fall out of a pickup truck, I think, relatively easily. And unfortunately, I feel like I see that a lot. And it's not a TikTok challenge or anything like that. But
okay, confession number 10. We used to ride in the back of Dad's truck all the time. I mean, that's just how we got around. And you would sit on the wheel well because it would give you a little bit of a lift. And we would just ride around in the back of a truck. And at some point, I think somebody said, hey, you know, you're not supposed to do that. It's dangerous. But I remember, you know, it made a pickup truck into a minivan because you could put like 6 people back there.
Oh, my gosh.
All sitting back there on our way to the baseball game or something. And it was fun. It was sunny. You know, you could wave at all your friends. But it was nutty, too, because there was no restraint. There was no seatbelt, nothing like that.
I do remember as a kid, this is pre-seatbelt, pre-car seat. So our family had station wagon, right, with the wood paneling. We actually had one of those. And you could sit in the back and you could like face out backwards, but there was no seatbelts, right? And my siblings, I had twin brothers born when I was 8 years old, and this would have been 1973-ish is when they were born. And my mom put a bassinet. She put them one head on each end in this kind of long rectangular bassinet, and then she just stuck it on the seat.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
It's not very safe. But we do have a texter who's weighed in and said it blows their mind that moving to Utah, after they've moved to Utah, that you all allow people to ride in the back of a pickup truck. So there you go. And that you're allowed to drive motorcycles without helmets. So I remember.
Between cars, between parked cars now, with the whole lane, what's it called?
Zippering.
Yeah.
Is that the right term?
Yeah, lane filtering.
Lane
That
filtering.
allows you to do that as well. No, we did. We used to put lounge chairs, outside chairs in the back of a pickup truck, and you could.
Oh my gosh.
Recliner, like those.
That's
nylon
so
recliner.
dumb.
Yeah, but it was cool. You could. Luckily,
It makes me nervous seeing a dog
nobody
in the
got
back of
hurt.
a pickup.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Even that's against the law, I think.
Well,
I
they
shouldn't say it.
can die too, right?
Right.
The dogs. So anyway, let's not do dumb stunts, right? That's our recommendation from Inside Sources. Let's not do dumb stunts. so there's a couple of others right now that are going around that are still really not smart. And we've talked about this before, but you've got a sleepy chicken one where you douse your chicken in NyQuil. Not good. Don't do that.
Your chicken?
Yeah, like
oh,
you're
you
gonna eat a chicken.
Oh, I thought you meant you stick your chicken's head in NyQuil. No, when you're cooking it.
Yeah, when you're
so
cooking
that you
it.
make your guest high.
Or sleepy.
Or yourself, right?
That's,
yes.
Yeah, that's the point. Or Benadryl.
Wouldn't taste very good, though.
Right, if you take like overdosing on Benadryl. I will tell you, I had this wasn't a social media challenge, but it was because it was pre-social media, but I had a cousin pass away because he was doing something that he heard about from a set of friends, that if you can choke yourself to the point of passing out, right, that you get a high. Well, he tried it, and he tied the knot in the wrong way and did not recover.
Yeah, well, you've got to have somebody there to bail you out of that. I mean, you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But
I know. You
do have kids that hold their breath or do certain things like that, and then their buddies.
My daughter went to school with somebody who was trying to do the hold your breath. Look, he was somebody who was very fit, he was very athletic, and was trying to prove a point at the bottom of a swimming pool, and held his breath so long that he passed out and he ended up drowning. Because you pass out and then you take a big breath in, and he drowned at the bottom of the pool, trying to prove the point that he could hold his breath for a very long time.
So did you ever do cow tipping?
No.
It's not quite as dangerous, except for the cow.
The cow might kick you.
Yeah, right.
No, I never did that either.
Get
I told
upset.
you the worst I did was throw toilet paper in people's trees when I lived in California.
Not really big on social media then.
Well, so, cow tipping on social media.
Anyway.
I will tell you this. My dad did this. This was way before social media. And this is, so, they would move the outhouses. So during the dark,
I don't even want to
the teenagers would go out, they would pick up the outhouse, they would move it so it wasn't over the hole, but so that it looked like you were in the right path, and then the goal was to have people fall into the pit for the outhouse. Teenagers are just generally dumb, I would just say that. Right?
Okay, well, I think the bottom line is that authorities are taking these seriously now. We have individuals who are being charged criminally. You can have certain civil consequences as a result of your conduct. And if you're driving a car, no matter what your age, there are no games with cars. There are no play chicken. There are no standing on the back of the car, doing donuts in a parking lot with a crowd of people around you. You just cannot. Even the best drivers can't control a car when there's a crowd sitting around them.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Well, I didn't know this was a thing, but
I'm learning too.
Actually, I did. Can first cousins marry? Apparently, they can. Now, I know our listeners are going to go, wait a minute, Scortis, you don't know the law. I'm going to explain the law, and in a number of states you can. And there's one, though, that's going to go into effect this next week. Yep, a ban. We'll be right back.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: a man was found dead early this morning in Echo Reservoir after he went missing while kayaking last night. Summit County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Skylar Talbot says they were called out to the reservoir around 5:30 last night by the man's adult son.
We did locate the kayak. Family has confirmed that the kayak we located did, to a high degree of certainty, belong to the missing individual.
Talbot says they also found the 56-year-old man's life jacket in the water. They recovered his body around 1:30 this morning. We don't know yet what caused the man to go under the water. Authorities are still investigating. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: we continue to monitor a shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas. Multiple people were shot and one detainee died. The shooter then turned the gun on himself. The president of Iran spoke to the UN General Assembly today, blasting both Israel and the United States, saying the actions of the two countries have blown up international trust and the very prospect of peace in the region. Your money at this moment, the Dow right now is down 104. That's about 0.2%. We're at 46,186. Coming up, another beautiful day. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
And we're back with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate, to talk about where we are, the housing market and houses here in Utah. And so we talked at the last segment, Russell, about interest rates going down a little bit. Are they at the point now where people are jumping back into the market, or have we seen much of a change as a result of that?
Yeah, how can I say this? So we're seeing a lot more first-time home buyers. Those are the ones that are saying, okay, this makes sense for us to jump in. A lot of your move-up buyers that are locked into that 3% interest rate hasn't really moved them off the line yet, but they've been low enough that our first-time home buyers are saying, okay, it's now dropped enough that it makes sense for us to jump in.
What is inventory looking like, especially compared to like maybe last year in September?
Yeah, so we've ticked up over the year, but now we're starting to see some movement again. And we are in the lower price ranges, though. I would say in the last 2 weeks, we've started to see the multiple offers again. And so, as it became a little bit more affordable, immediately it went, first-time home buyers jumped in, and we are seeing the good priced homes go multiple offer.
It's interesting you mentioned first-time home buyers, Russell, because some locales, some jurisdictions are actually giving some breaks to first-time home buyers. What do you tell your buyers who are first-time what they could look for, what they can find?
I definitely always tell them as they're speaking with their loan professional to ask what grants are available to them. I mean, there's so many different grants available depending on, sometimes race, sometimes location, sometimes cities. And so I always definitely recommend that it's like ask to see if there's a grant that you might qualify for.
I was intrigued that you are seeing multiple offer situations. So that sounds to me like we're moving a little bit away from a buyer's market, maybe more equalized.
Yeah, so we've kind of been in this market since June of 2022. Interest rates went up. We've been kind of in this hold pattern of lower sales. And we have a lot of what we call pent-up demand, people that have been sitting on the sidelines. And so, unfortunately, we're seeing this massive pendulum swing. And, every time something changes, we go to the extremes of no one's buying a home to now we're starting of like more and more people are jumping in.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
It's been a long, hot summer here in Utah, and let's be honest, many yards and gardens are looking a little tired. But good news, as the nights start to cool, now is the perfect time to revive your yard. Yes, it's time to get our outdoor spaces ready for back to school and all your favorite fall activities. At Olson's Greenhouse, we're bringing in fresh shipments every week of vibrant garden mums and beautiful fall bedding plants to help you refresh your outdoor spaces. Cooler nights and warm soil create the ideal conditions for planting, and your perennials will thank you next spring. So whether you're sprucing up the porch, replanting your flower beds, or decorating for harvest season, Olson's Greenhouse has everything you need to make your garden thrive again. To find a retailer of Olson's plants near you, visit ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens. That's ogg.com, or find ideas and inspiration on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here is Heather Kelly.
Well, we're delay-free now, finally, all across the Wasatch Front. No slowdowns on I-15 either direction throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. Also a very nice drive if you want to go into the mountains. No problems in Weber Canyon, Parley's Canyon, or Provo Canyon at this time. It looks good if you're going into or out of Twila County on SR 36 as well. Bad weather and parking lots love GoPave Utah. GoPave Utah loves snow. Don't wait for bad weather. Schedule your snow removal service with GoPave Utah. Visit GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Near perfect weather today with sunshine and a high of 80 degrees. 84 tomorrow. We'll stay in the low 80s through Saturday. Right now it's 68 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
What do you think, Holly? Can first cousins marry? Or maybe the better question is, should first cousins marry?
Well, I think the should is probably no. But when I saw this article from Lois Collins in the, in the Deseret News, I did laugh. And the reason I laughed is because I didn't really think it was a thing anymore. And especially when she said Connecticut is banning first cousin marriages. I'm like, isn't that a liberal state? Like, wouldn't they have done that a long time ago, Lois?
You would think so, but I don't know. True confession, I have a little bias here because I broke off an engagement once and later learned that I almost married my third cousin.
Ooh.
Which is legal everywhere.
Which I was going to say, I think you're good to go there.
Still felt kind of creepy after the fact, So
yeah, it's interesting to me that there's a little. I would assume my bias comes from some social discussions about intermarriage, and then you end up with genetic disorders.
Well, that is why states ban it. That's the primary reason, is that there's the risk of really serious birth defects for offspring when people that are too closely related marry.
Reproduce.
Yeah, have kids.
So why is this even in the news? Are people reconsidering this or taking another look at it?
So it's in the news because Connecticut just passed a law that bans first cousin marriages. And so this comes up in the news periodically when somebody acts on it. And usually when one state acts on it, then it gets a couple of headlines and people go, what does our state do? And then maybe that changes in that state. And and it doesn't always go that way. Like some states have banned it and then decided it's okay with caveats, and then they've decided it's not, and they ban it again. Tennessee did that. So it's kind of a moving target.
It's interesting. Utah bans it with caveats.
Yeah,
Utah. I would even say Utah allows it with caveats.
Okay, with a caveat,
yeah,
right.
you could say it either way. So there are actually 17 states that don't have any caveats. Utah's caveat is that if you're both over 65 and you just can't resist each other, you can marry. And if you are infertile, you can marry at 55. Some states have like 50. Some states say as long as you're infertile, we don't care, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And the other caveat that shows up is same-sex marriage. In some states, males are allowed to marry their first cousins.
If they're both male.
Yes.
Both partners. Interesting.
Yes.
That's so interesting. So
that's interesting.
I was talking about the genetic component. It makes me think of like the royal families from Europe, right? Because as they went down generationally, you start to get more and more and more problems with the kids. But tell me, okay, tell me about this. Like, is there any reasoning behind why states still allow it without a ban, without any kind of restrictions?
I honestly do not know the answer to that, and I have wondered that as well. I think it's interesting, and we should throw genetic counseling into the mix too, because some of the states that do allow it do say, but you need genetic counseling, and some of the states that have other restrictions say you need genetic counseling. I personally don't have a cousin I ever wanted to marry. Except for my third cousin, of course, but I don't know. Yeah. I honestly don't know what the thinking is on why it's a good idea. I'm very clear on why you shouldn't marry your siblings or your parents or your grandparents.
Yeah, and that's banned. Is it banned in all 50
that's
states?
That's banned, I think, everywhere.
Okay.
I didn't find any place that thought that was a great idea.
Okay.
So I've got it right here.
Okay.
The Utah law, and Lois, you're, as usual, 100% right. Marriages that are banned in Utah, marriage between a parent and a child, and a marriage between an ancestor and a descendant of any degree. That means grandma, grandpa, you can't marry your great-grandfather. You know what I mean? So,
you can't go up your tree.
No matter what, if you're a descendant or an ancestor. Marriage between siblings of the half or whole blood, your half-sister, your sister.
Hey, what about adopted?
It doesn't say that. It's not on the list here.
Ban that.
Yeah, and marriage between an aunt and a niece or an uncle and a niece or nephew, and then, like you said, marriage between first cousins, and that with the exception of both parties are 65 or older, and like you said correctly, Lois, both parties are 55 year older, and there has to be a finding by the judge. How the judge finds this, I don't know. I guess with a doctor's note that one of the parties is unable to reproduce, so that you don't have the problems that we're talking about, the genetic problems. But
and the problems can be very severe. They can be severe limb deformities. They can be missing organs sometimes. There are a bunch of things.
Right. And you can have chromosomal abnormalities that only impact your kids if you marry somebody else with the same recessive trait, right? So it's not dominant, it's recessive, but you have to have somebody that matches. We actually have a couple of texters. One says, I had a girl break up with me because she found out we were second cousins once removed and said that's too close, and then she went on to date and marry somebody with the same last name. So, and then somebody asks, and I don't know this, family, the Whitaker family in West Virginia. I don't know who that is. But when you talk about families marrying, and I'm like you, I didn't have any cousins. They're great, but I didn't have any that I was interested in marrying. Also, probably because I'm the oldest cousin on both sides by at least 5 years. So, no, thank you. But Woody Allen, right? That case. So he married his adopted daughter.
Right.
Yeah, right. But it was like, oh my gosh, that is just so gross. And for me as an adoptive mom, it just makes me shudder.
No, it's such a weird thing, but it's really easy to sit outside of all of these relationships and say, here's what I think. And with Hollywood too, there's definitely an ick factor to that, but it's also true that we all like to kind of pass judgment on Hollywood, too. I can't imagine doing it. I think there's an ick factor.
Can you tell us about double cousins?
Oh, yeah, double cousins. I had never heard of.
I don't know what that is, right.
Double cousin is like if my brother and I married you and your sister.
Right.
And we each had kids, and then those kids wanted to get married. They're double cousins. They have all four of the same grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
They have, and that is an absolute no-no in some states explicitly, but I don't know if it is everywhere. But that's a double cousin, and I had never heard of such a thing.
It's actually, if I go up my family line, our first family members that came to Utah would have been in the 1800s. There were multiple families that did that where we had 4 or 5 brothers marry 4 or 5 sisters in the same family. So we had those connections there. I mean, their family reunion would have been smallish.
It's kind of like 7 brides for 7 brothers, but you hope that the children then that are produced there do not have an urge to marry each other.
Right.
So I found a weird anomaly in the law that I just want to mention. I know we're almost out of time, but the definition of incest includes cousins, and it doesn't carve out the exception.
That's interesting.
So the Utah code, the criminal code defining when you can't engage in relations says you can't have relations with a cousin, period. There's no exception to that. So maybe the Utah legislature should get their act together because they're inconsistent laws.
And some states do criminalize, like first cousins marrying. Most states don't. Even if they say don't do it, they're not going to, jail you for it or anything.
Right.
We have one quick text that you have to mention. What's more fun, even than what we've been talking about, is a set of twins married another set of twins, then identical twins, right, on both sides. Then their kids are actually genetically siblings, right?
Yes, which is actually true, and I know some people who
really
fit that
so
description.
Interesting.
It's fascinating.
So interesting. Well, we're going to talk about
That's
housing
a lot of fun.
And artificial intelligence when we come back. We're going to talk with Russell Storm from the Storm team of Omada Real Estate, so stay tuned.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
So we're back with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Amada Real Estate, and some more real estate questions. So looking ahead, Russell, what do you think that local housing market is going to look like maybe in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so what we're kind of seeing right now, just with the small dip in the interest rate, is that activity starting to pick up. The Fed has said they're going to continue to, look at maybe moving away from the restrictive policy that they've been in. And so if I'm forecasting out a year, I would say next spring is going to be hot. So we're moving into fourth quarter, first quarter. In Utah, it is typically a slower time. So I think we'll be steady for the next 6 months or so. But we're kind of gearing up that the spring of next year should be a very active market.
And we've seen, Russell, home prices really increasing over the years in ways that were greater than wages, were greater than what people were willing to spend or could spend. Have we seen home price increases slow down in the last year or two?
It definitely over, I would even say, the last 3 years. We've really been slowing down on price increases. There's actually, so our average sales price has went up year over year, but when you look at what you can buy for that house, really our prices actually have come down.
Really?
So even though, we see, year over year prices went up, they did on average, but the home you're buying is bigger or, more yard, more home for that price. But we anticipate now that we'll continue to see kind of slow appreciation unless, interest rates come down, honestly, too low.
So I have a question about about wanting to sell, right? So if you've got that really low interest rate, are you seeing people starting to move at all, or are they still staying stuck in that house?
I think they're still definitely weighing heavily the decision of this is definitely, it depends. Trying to time the market, we always see that. And so what I tell people is, really look at your unique situation and make decisions based off of what's best for your family as opposed to trying to time the market in it.
Remember, you can learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more.
We're going to be
if
talking
you're ready
with Russell.
to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources.
We're joined by Russell Fawcett, still in studio with us. He's the owner of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate. And I want to talk about real estate and AI. We've talked a lot about artificial intelligence on our show. And I'm curious, what are you starting to see with trends?
Yeah, so again, AI can cover a lot of things, right? So I would say up front, what we're starting to see is, maybe the consumer is becoming a little bit more educated, or at least that's what I would say if you're going to use AI in real estate, of go ahead and use it for research, but also it still is to the point where bringing in someone that also can give you additional information is still good.
I want to follow up on something you said a minute ago, and then I do want to talk more about AI, but I've seen, at least in our market, a number of posts that houses that are listed for A are being reduced, that sellers are reducing the price of their houses. And I haven't seen that before. I only get this because we listed for a few minutes our house and then we decided to pull it off the market. So I guess I'm getting these posts. But it does seem that there's starting to be a little bit of a dip, at least in some houses. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, and so what we're seeing in the market right now is we say, your home needs to be the best as far as top 10% in condition, and then the lowest 10% in price. Those are the homes that move. And so with the increased inventory, if your home isn't, priced extremely well or the best in condition, you are going to end up sitting on the market. And so it's kind of, there's a certain percent of homes that sell, and you want to make sure the price and the condition line up to make sure you're one of those homes that sell. And if you're not, you will end up having to adjust your price to be able to sell.
It's interesting. You have mentioned to us before that homes are staying on the market more a normal amount of time, 60 days plus. But maybe now we're seeing more movement. I see that in my neighborhood. So we've had a home on the market, not our home, but our neighbor's home for 4 months. It sold this week.
Yeah. And so, it'd be interesting to kind of look at the history of that to see if they ended up having to do price adjustments before it actually sold, right? And so it is, if you're not priced correctly, your home's going to sit forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, all of a sudden a buyer came out of the woodworks and bought, right? Typically it is because they did some type of a movement with their price.
We're speaking this morning with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate. And Russell, if you're talking to a prospective seller who is thinking of selling a house, what kind of improvements can be done that can be justified financially? In other words, if you say, well, you should finish your basement, it's going to cost me $100,000, it'll increase the value of your house by $50,000. You know what I mean? But there are some that probably can at least break even or maybe even come out ahead. Are there things that you would advise sellers that are worth doing?
Yeah, so every home is definitely unique. Every neighborhood is unique. And so I'll kind of preface it with that. But we do go through a checklist. And the first thing that I say is the first thing you want to do is take care of anything that is actually broken. So if, you have a faucet that's leaking or you have doorknobs that don't work, like we're going to walk through and make sure we take care of all of those things, The next thing, honestly, the best return is a good deep clean. Getting out like a magic eraser and actually just making sure your home is clean, shampooing the carpets. Then we move into, we start looking at things that cost money. So paint and carpet are quickly ways to make a home feel new without going into major renovations. And then if we get into some of those major renovations, we're looking at the primary bedroom, the bathroom, and then the kitchen. Those are your primary areas. But again, if you have somewhere that you have deferred maintenance, if the deck is falling off the home, we're going to take care of those before we go to remodeling a kitchen or something like that.
Yeah, I want to go back to AI a little bit. Yes, I understand people, the human value there is awesome. What kind of questions are people asking AI? Because as I think about it, it's like, well, I don't even know that I would go to AI for that.
How it would affect
so where I'd start, and I'll talk about some places to be cautious and then some things that I think are very valuable with AI that, I'm even using as a real estate agent. The first one that I think people kind of run to is, what's my home worth, or trying to price the home using AI. And in Utah, we're a non-disclosure state. So what that means is there's no public place that what homes are selling for are actually published and disclosed, because all AI is doing is essentially combing the internet and then giving you that response. And so with that, I wouldn't trust anything that's still coming of like, oh, you should price your home at this, because it doesn't have access to what homes are selling for. So that would be my word of caution. But things that I think are very helpful to use AI is just that question of, what project would give me the best return when selling my home? Or, if you were going to update something, what should I update? What are buyers looking for? You could ask it, what are current trends on paint colors? Different things like that. I do think, research, using it as opposed, because kind of the option is, do you go to a search engine like Google and say, do that? Or do I go to AI that's actually going to scrub kind of a lot more information? And so I love it for research. I love it for, again, what are trends? What should I do to the home? What are buyers currently searching for and looking for in a home? Things like that.
When a person is selling or purchasing a home, usually the lender will require, maybe always, a home inspection. Russell, when you see these home inspections coming back, where do you see the biggest problems come up? Where do you see home inspectors saying you've got a problem with this? What are we homeowners missing out on?
Yeah, well, so an inspector is going to go. We say they go through your home with a fine-tooth comb, and they are going to find anything from an outlet that's not working. But the major things that we look for, again, are items of safety. And so I think something that maybe you wouldn't, like a double tap breaker, you wouldn't know about, or sometimes it seems like the water heaters not having an expansion tank. Most of the things that are items of concern are things that, we're in a home in the 70s that were code then that are not up to code now. And so we're looking for, maybe the age of the water heater, the age of the roof, and then the one, things that you can't see is if they come in with, a moisture test where they're actually looking behind the walls to see if there's moisture, and you may not know you have a leak, but something's been leaking, for a good amount of time. And so things like that you can't see that they're testing for.
So you mentioned that you would not recommend using AI to find out your home's value, which actually is great because people can learn their home's true value in 30 seconds by visiting sternteam.com to find out more.
I want to ask you another question. You talked about the deep cleaning. So this is a totally naive question, but when I get ready to sell a car, I'll go get it detailed. I'll go to the professionals. Are there home detailers? Are there groups that can do this major deep clean, and do you recommend that?
Yeah, so there are cleaning companies out there that will come in, and you can hire them to mop and vacuum your floors, or you can hire them to go in and do a detail on your house. And when I'm actually flipping homes, I do hire a company that comes in and they will get in the windowsill tracks. They'll clean the ovens. They're doing a top to bottom scrub of the house.
And you pay more than the normal housekeeper, but I assume something like that, first impressions or lasting impressions, a buyer's going to come in and see that and go, wow, this house is very well maintained.
Absolutely. It is the first thing I tell everyone is a good deep clean is well worth the time or money.
Yeah. We've been speaking with Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern Team of Amada Real Estate. Thanks for all your knowledge and education that you give us every time you come in.
Seriously.
Thank you.
And when we come back after the break, we're going to begin a special hour talking about setting an example of civic dialogue, including how in our families and in the broader community. Stay with us on KSL News Radio. Remember, you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio, I'm Alexandria Bonilla. KSL's top story this hour, investigators continue to comb outside of an ICE facility in Dallas for clues after a shooter opened fire before taking his own life. FBI Special Agent in Charge Joseph Rothrock wouldn't get into details about the 3 people hit by gunfire.
While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack.
One of those 3 victims died. ABC News is citing sources close to the probe who say the 3 victims were all ICE detainees. A man has been found dead in the waters of Echo Reservoir after he went missing while kayaking last night. Summit County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Skylar Talbot says they were called out to the reservoir around 5:30 last night by the man's adult son.
We did locate the kayak. Family has confirmed that the kayak we located did, to a high degree of certainty, belong to the missing individual.
Talbot says they also found the 56-year-old man's life jacket in the water. There's no word yet why he went under. U.S. stocks are drifting lower today as Wall Street takes a pause from what analysts say seemed like a relentless rally. Your money at this moment, the Dow is currently down 139 points. The S&P is down 24, and the NASDAQ is down 108. Coming up, the 80s are making a comeback. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Man, I want to tell people how they can look and feel 10 years younger because it's something you and I already know.
We lost weight with the SOTA weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I do feel younger. I have more energy, all because I worked through this wonderful program, SOTA weight loss.
And I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight over 5 months, and I actually did get comments, you look incredibly younger. It really felt good.
And I love the example I set for my kids to show them, look, we can celebrate things without having to eat stuff that's bad for our bodies.
And what helps is the accountability. And right now, this is the best way to do it. SOTA's bringing back their most popular offer of the season. Join now, and your partner joins for free in the Partner Program.
So you and your spouse, or you and your best friend, get going with SOTA weight loss.
They're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. You can find out by going to their website, SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because SOTA is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, for the first time all morning long, we are accident-free on the major freeways across the Wasatch Front, and there are no slowdowns right now. I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, or Weber counties in either direction. You also have good speeds on the east and west side belt routes making your way around the Salt Lake Valley. No issues at the moment getting out of Twilla County on SR 36 I-80 or the 201 freeway. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's sunny this afternoon with a high of 80 degrees. Tomorrow we could see a few more clouds move in with a high of 84. Right now it is sunny and 69 degrees. I'm Alexandria Bonilla from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
In the wake of rising political violence, including the tragic killing of Charlie Kirk that took place on the campus of Utah Valley University, it's time to confront a critical question. What kind of example are we setting for the next generation? I'm Holly Richardson.
And I'm Greg Skordas.
Over the next hour, we explore how we can restore civility not only for ourselves, but also how can we set the example of civil dialogue for our kids?
We're going to hear from psychologists and thought leaders to learn how we can build bridges across divides, starting inside the home and expanding to the larger community.
After the killing of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, Utah Governor Spencer Cox talked about this moment in time being a turning point in history, but it's up to all of us as individuals to move things in a positive direction.
We can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so.
I think one of the things that stands out to me and that I've seen in my own family is there are so many big emotions happening right now. I think one of the bigger questions is how. Like, there are a lot of political figures and other kinds of faith leaders, et cetera, saying we've got to tone it down. We've got to be more civil. But one of my questions is, how do we do that?
Yeah, and I think that the younger generation is looking to us to say, how are you going to do that? Yeah. And I think Governor Cox makes a great point, and that is this an off-ramp, or are we going to continue on our way? He talks about, is this a turning point, or are we going to continue on our way? In other words, something has to change. Something has to change now, because the course that we're on is causing a lot of concern to our younger generation, and really to all of us that are living in the present and thinking, what's happening right now in our country? Because things are at a point, Holly, that a lot of us have never seen before.
Yeah, that's right. And, one of the things in our family is I've tried to be proactive, especially in the last couple of weeks, of making sure that the granddaughter that we're raising, she's 11, that I have conversations with her, not only about what she saw, because she doesn't have a phone, but she had a friend who had a phone and showed her the killing of Charlie Kirk. And we talked about that, but I also told her, and I'm trying to model for her, sometimes I need to go take a break. Sometimes I need to make sure that my language is appropriate, right? That I'm not doing the otherizing, that I'm not the one out there saying, hey, that group or they, right? I don't want to do that.
And parents need to set an example. My children are all adults. I'm a grandparent of 8. But they still call and say, Dad, what's going on? What are we doing? And my son will call me just with respect to a dialogue that he's had with someone at work, and run it by me and say, here's how I responded to this consternation that I had with a fellow employee. And he's looking to me to say, good job, or maybe we could do it differently. Yeah. And he'll even do it prospectively. Hey, I have a big meeting tomorrow with another, he's a doctor, and I have a big meeting with another doctor tomorrow who's in trouble. She's done some things that are not appropriate. I'm wondering how to address that, and if you can't rely on your parent, I don't know who you can rely on, because relying on the government is fine. Relying on your teachers is fine. Relying on others who are your mentors is great. But at some time, you just got to go home.
Yeah, and again, we're looking at how do we navigate this time, and how do we set the example for civil dialogue? And I think it's really easy, and I saw this in my kids growing up. I won't throw the first punch, but I'll throw the second one, right? So as soon as there's somebody that we can point to and say, well, they did it first, right? That's where we start to get into trouble, because you start to justify your behavior then. Well, they did it first, right? It's those guys. So that's one of the things I think we need to be really cognizant of. And as we're talking about restoring civic dialogue, it includes the ability to disagree without contempt. And so some of that means to me that I have to look at myself and say, okay, am I staying open? Am I staying curious? Am I asking the right kind of questions, right? am I already forming a judgment in my head before I even find out what their stance actually is?
And am I responding to a situation in showing maturity? Am I responding to a driver who cuts me off on the roadway, or someone who doesn't let me in, or someone who gestures at me in some inappropriate way? Is there a time when you just say, I have to hold my breath, or take 10 seconds, or
Right.
even at night, when I'm sending an email, I think maybe I should hit send tomorrow morning. Just let it go, because you get caught up in the emotion. You read an email, you read something somebody sent you, and you think, boy, I need to respond to that. It doesn't always help.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure you're familiar with the book Crucial Conversations, and this is part of the same type of dialogue, except that the political rhetoric has ramped up so much. And then, of course, we had the political assassination and ongoing issues with political violence, I think, and just inflammatory rhetoric right now. And I think that's one of the reasons so many groups and organizations are really talking about, we need to learn how to decrease contention, how to be peacemakers. What does that look like, right? What does that look like to you, Greg?
Yeah, it looks like what's happening in our country is happened here in Utah. We had something at Utah Valley University.
Right.
I mean, the Happy Valley, let's face it,
Right.
just in our own backyard so recently, and people are looking at Utah saying, okay, what are you going to do? Governor Cox said, let's take a break. Let's stop this. And I think what it looks like is, how are we going to respond? What are we going to do, because people are watching us right now, and we don't want violence in the streets. We don't want violent protests. But I think our community leaders and our other leaders need to establish some dialogue, some debate, some public forums where you have people from both sides coming together and saying, okay, here's my position. I'm a Democrat. Here's what I think we should do about a particular issue. Well, I'm a Republican. Here's what I think we should do. And I think that our young people, we need to go on college campuses, high schools, whatever. We need to go to these groups and say, here's what dialogue looks like. Here's what agreeing to disagree looks like. And maybe we walk out of the room and say, boy, I didn't agree with much of what you said, but I sure appreciate that you were able to say it.
Yeah, that's right. And, one of the things that strikes me as we have these ongoing conversations is it's really easy to point fingers and say, well, it's the fault of whatever, and you lump people into a group. But I read a Deseret News article recently about a group of women who were on different sides of a very polarizing issue. It happened to be abortion. And they started to meet just so that they could understand, right? They wanted to understand each other. They came from different faith backgrounds, and they ended up meeting for years, right? And they became friends. And that's what you get when you start to have these open dialogues, not going in saying, I'm going to persuade you that you have to think like me when we're done, but to just have that dialogue. Help me understand. Help me learn. Like, what does this mean to you? What does this look like to you? If we talk about toning it down, what does that look like to you?
And it's likely that of that group, not very many, if any, change their opinion on that issue, but understanding the other party's position and why, and not debating, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And just saying, okay, that's interesting. My opinion is different, and here's how I feel about it. And what a great example for these women to have done that, and to continue the dialogue over years, and continue to talk about something that they don't agree on, but at least appreciating the other party's perspective instead of getting upset at it.
Both the governor and the first lady of Utah say it's really hard to hate people up close. And speaking of the governor, he had a message specifically for the younger generation.
This is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice.
So how do we model civility in our own homes, especially when emotions are running high? As Governor Cox said, this is our moment.
Right. Stay with us as we learn how we as parents can teach our kids to have civil discourse when confronted with conflict. After the break, we're going to talk with licensed clinical psychologist Tom Golightly. He will join us next.
There's no better place to fall in love with fall than Logan, Utah. Honestly, it's kind of hard to imagine fall right now because it's been so blasted hot this summer. But I promise Logan is the place for cooler temperatures and even cooler events. You absolutely have to come to the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival September 27th. These ain't your mama's pumpkins, although I don't really know what that means. But anyway, last year, the record-breaking gourd tipped in at over 2,100 pounds. That's more than 3 grand pianos. Professional pumpkin carvers, family scavenger hunt, activities for kids, live music, more than 100 vendors, and fantastic fall fun. Coming up, we've got the American West Heritage Center's Fall Harvest Festival, the North Logan Pumpkin Walk, 2 giant corn mazes that may or may not be haunted, concerts, historic downtown ghost tours, and more. Don't even ask me when the leaves will be turning, because at this point, your guess is as good as mine. But it doesn't matter, because whenever you come to Logan, it's always beautiful. Visit explorelogan.com to plan your autumn adventures today. explorelogan.com.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Hi, this is Doug Ryden. For years, I've been telling you about products I truly believe in and that we use in our home. And one is Kinetico. We all know the downsides of hard water, tough on home appliances, frustrating spots on shower doors, but it also affects your personality. When you shower, does the water feel invigorating? Hard water can leave your skin feeling sticky and itchy. A Kinetico soft water system changes everything. It's like having a luxurious spa experience when you shower, making your daily routine something you look forward to. Kinetico, it's a difference you can feel. Their patented system uses far less salt than competitors, and they're exclusively focused on water softeners. They're the experts in their field, and they'll show you the difference for free with no obligation to buy. Call Kinetico Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer, at 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com. Start enjoying your water. Spoil yourself every day.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or low back pain, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming out.
And here's Dennis.
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. Good Feet just took that pain away, and I could do my job, and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow's gonna be. It's gonna be positive, and it's gonna be pain-free.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. Walk-ins are always welcome. Or find the location nearest you and schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up, like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. Be the someone who gives their time. Be the someone who lends an ear. Be the someone who takes a step. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. asking you to join the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAINN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can be the someone.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Welcome back. As Holly and I continue our conversation about putting the civil back in civil discourse, we need to ask ourselves, what are we modeling for our children?
Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz explained this moment as a learning opportunity for ourselves and for our kids.
You know, this is a learning opportunity for our kids that are watching this because it happened on a college campus, because Charlie Kirk was either so popular or so divisive with the younger crowd. People knew who he was. Kids knew who Charlie Kirk is. And, you know, so I don't think this is true for just college students. I think it's true for high school students as well. But they're watching us. Our kids are watching us at this moment in time and how we lead moving forward. And so I hope that we can continue as a state to come together. Governor Cox can still lead us through this because our kids are watching us. And I hope they learn. And Governor Cox hit on the point with our kids. You know, hey, now's an opportunity for you to see what you don't like in society and to go out and change it. And so I hope that we use that as a learning experience to build upon as well moving forward.
So I want to share just one quick experience about how kids not only watch us, but they mimic us. We were driving in a van one time. My husband was driving, and we started sliding on ice, an icy road. And I started to scream, and my kids in the back of the car started to scream. And my husband said, Holly, you need to calm down. They're watching you, literally. And so I took a deep breath, and I started singing little kid songs, and they started singing, right? They were following exactly what I was doing. And once I didn't show that I was terrified, they calmed down as well. So we're joined by licensed clinical psychologist Dr. Tom Golightly to talk about how we can teach our kids about this.
Did Holly approach it correctly?
I think she did wonderfully, yes. I think what's interesting to me, and even though I'm a licensed psychologist, it took me years to figure out that maybe my best parenting happened with my mouth closed. And it was just how I responded to things. They're watching me and how I respond a lot more, and they're going to incorporate those things a lot more than they're going to incorporate anything I say or advocate for them to do. So it's a big thing, and this is a big moment for us as parents, as adults, to kind of model that appropriate behavior as we're trying to teach people the discourse that we need to have.
So how do we model then for them, besides just a generic conversation? How do we model civil discourse with really high emotions?
Well, going back to that, I was the best parent with my mouth shut. I think one of the lost arts we have is listening. We have a really difficult time being curious and asking questions and just trying to understand where the other person is coming from. When we go through a discussion to understand, to connect, we are actually disarming any conversation that we have. And so we often get caught up in the, I have a point to say, I need to say something, or we're listening, already forming that next thing in our head. If we can let go of that process and teach our children that process, we're going to be in a much better spot, person to person. And even think about the parenting that you're doing with your children. There are times, especially with teenagers, like, okay, I'm disagreeing right now. But if I ask questions, if I hear where they're coming from, then we're really going to be able to de-escalate a lot of situations just by listening appropriately.
Tom, we just heard the soundbite from Utah House Speaker Schultz about the speaker that was at UVU, Charlie Kirk, and he described him as very popular and very divisive. If you were to go and just address some of the young kids that are attending that university right now, the student body, they're coming back to school, and putting aside his divisiveness, popularity, just the events that occurred that day as they go back to school and try to establish some level of normalcy in their lives, what would you tell them?
I would say, one, honor your reactions. It's really important that we don't shove those aside or just try to put our head down and plow through, that it's okay that there's some emotional reaction to that. And that might impact behavioral decisions. But what I would also say to that is, yes, accept that there's going to be emotional reaction, but really make the commitment to engage life as normally as possible. There are going to be moments where we think about things, where images come into our head, where feelings show up, and we still have life to live. And to engage a normal routine as much as possible. Try not to lose that routine. Try not to lose too much of what you would normally do. And attend class, study as much as possible, hang out with your friends as much as possible. That life is still happening, and we can engage it. And we just have this new little piece that we're going to have to work around as we engage life.
I wonder if there are specific phrases that are maybe go-to phrases. I was talking with my daughter who has a 2-year-old recently, and she was saying that she saw a TV show and her son has learned that if he gets angry or if he feels like mom or dad is mad at him, which, I mean, they're not really very often, he will say, take a deep breath, right? Are there things that we can incorporate in our teaching of our kids, even modeling for ourselves?
Well, beforehand, even before the conversation starts, if our goal is to understand and to connect, then that changes some of the phrasing that we're going to have. If we're really trying to cross-examine or we're trying to get a point across, then we're losing the point a little bit. So the main goal being to connect, we can disagree a little bit better. So genuinely be curious. What I hear you to be saying is this, right? That's a really important phrase. I'm interested when you say X, Y, and Z. Tell me a little bit more about that. And I'm not sure I totally agree, but here's what I think. And if we're able to kind of say, we might disagree with this, but we're going to do this really kindly. And another thing, we have to accept that we might not get that listening back. And if we're not getting that listening back, that it's okay to disengage that conversation and just let it be what it was. You can remain in a place where you're listening, where you're curious. So I'm giving you time. Can you give me a little time too? And then we can have a healthy back and forth. But if it's a no, then it's a no, and let go of trying to have your voice heard at times. It's going to be okay. It's just like any discourse. Most people don't want to be fixed. They don't want to be convinced. A lot of them just want to be heard. And if we can provide that space, hopefully we'll be getting that back as well from other people.
We're joined in studio by licensed clinical psychologist Dr. Tom Golightly. And Tom, as we've learned more about the shooter in this event, he's the kid next door. Right. He's the boy that you see at school or at church. And what can you tell parents because we are assuming, or we've heard that he was radicalized. I mean, what do you tell parents right now who are raising young kids who are on the internet about maybe things to watch for, maybe things to think about as kids are being exposed to so much of what's on the internet right now?
I think, especially adolescence, young adulthood, we're all trying to really solidify our values, and those anchoring values are the ones that lead our decision making throughout life. And that doesn't go away when someone leaves the house. And I have 4 kids that are college age right now, and it does kind of come back to, hey, what are you talking about? How is your life flowing? And being in touch with some of what they're looking at, knowing what they're interested in, knowing a little bit about those things. And you might not get those as parents. You can ask questions, and like I said, I have kids at that age. They'll be like, I don't really want to talk about that with you. And that's totally fine if we do that. But don't stop being curious and really kind of asking about those anchoring values and how those might be shifting. They shift for everyone in adulthood a little bit. Some shift a lot. Some stay pretty grounded in where they were before they left home. But I think it's really important that we kind of know our children, our adult children especially, with how they're grounding and anchoring themselves and making those decisions from those pillars.
So I'm wondering if we can ask one final question. When we are the adults in the room, right, what are we supposed to be asking ourselves about our own approaches? What do we need to self-reflect on?
I think one of the things when as a training therapist, we watch a lot of videos, and so we get that mirror held right to our face, is to kind of look at, all right, what's my need? What need am I trying to fulfill when I open my mouth, when I get into a discussion? It's from an emotional spot. I'm activated in some way. Can I be emotionally patient enough to understand the needs that I'm trying to meet? And a lot of times we're in a hurry, and we want to be heard. If we can slow down the pace, and if we can take a look at the things that I feel like I need to say and why I need to say them, if I know the function or the reason why I'm saying those things, then I can do a little bit of management inside myself before I go to a chat room or anywhere else in person to have that conversation. So I think the big thing is, what needs am I trying to meet when I engage these conversations?
Thank you,
so
Tom.
much.
That was
Yeah.
Dr. Tom Golightly. When we come back, we've talked about building respectful conversations at home. Now, let's look into our communities. How can we spot harmful speech, and what can we do to stop it? Our conversation on leading with civility continues in just a few minutes.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott, KSL's top story this hour. And it is developing news. We're now learning that a second detainee has died after a shooter opened fire from a roof onto an ICE facility in Dallas. Homeland Security says 3 detainees were shot, 2 have now died, and another is in critical condition. Officials say the gunman had a rifle and took his own life after the shooting. FBI Director Kash Patel says the bullets at the scene had anti-ICE messaging on them. The IRS will no longer send out paper refund checks starting at the end of this month. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
An executive order was signed to modernize IRS payments, and it essentially says paper checks cost more to process, they get lost or stolen more often, so they're now gone. So what should you do if you always get a paper check refund and you don't have a bank account? Well, the IRS says they'll have several options, one being you can receive a prepaid debit card.
The IRS says during the last tax filing season, about 7% of Americans opted to get a paper refund check. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 112 points, the S&P is down 20 points. And coming up, low to mid 80s, KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Worried about market losses? If headlines are keeping you up at night, it's time to take control. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know you've worked hard to save. But in times like these, what if can turn into what now? If you're planning to retire or are in retirement, you need a strategy that helps protect your future. At Trajan Wealth, you can capture market gains, protect your account from losses, and guarantee income for life. Right now, you could receive a bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. You heard me right. An upfront bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10%, all guaranteed to boost your lifetime income in retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Plan with confidence. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, DBA, in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
Welcome to fall in Cedar City and Bryan Head, Utah, the perfect place to stay for scenic drives, colorful leaves, and cool mountain air. Experience Cedar Breaks and Zion National Park at their best. And while you're in town, catch one of our festivals to enjoy some small town charm. Pick out your favorite flannel and don't forget the pumpkin spice because Cedar City is waiting for you. We've got something for everybody, so check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
We do have a report of a crash southbound I-215 right near the 201 freeway ramps. Now, I've never seen it on the cameras. There's also no delays in the area, so my guess is they got themselves moved off the freeway pretty quickly. You do have a little bit of congestion, though, on Mountain View Corridor southbound, making your way between 3500 and 4100 south. But that's really the only slowing I see across the Wasatch Front. Everything looks good on I-15, both directions throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties, and through Parley's Canyon. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 80 today with clear sunny skies. Tomorrow we'll see temperatures up to 84 degrees, and then a little bit of cloud coverage moves in on Friday. Right now it is 70 in Farah. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
As we expand our civility efforts outside of our homes, we'll have opportunities to practice our own peace building and conflict resolution skills.
You know, I have done a lot of that over the last little while, and an opportunity to reflect myself, right, and to kind of do self-talk. But former Governor Gary Herbert joined us recently on Inside Sources, and he said something that really stood out to me.
I would suggest all of us, when we have a difference of opinion, we think, well, that's wrong. But we ought to think in terms of, well, listen closely, you may be right. That's a phrase we ought to use more often. You know, you may be right. Let me give that some thought and consideration, and let's get back and talk some more about it. Having some kind of a dialogue and mutual respect and deal with civility is something that's hard sometimes to do. But if we want to have the ability to get along, we need to make an effort to get along.
Brilliant, really. 4 words. You may be right.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you feel like you're not sold on that position yet, you might be right. And then let's rejoin at a later time and talk about where our differences lie.
And I think it does something in your brain. I've been thinking about that since he joined us. You may be right? That lets me stay open to having ongoing conversation. So we're joined today by Emma Adams. She's the co-executive director for Mormon Women for Ethical Government, MWEG, but she's also involved in a new effort to really focus on peace building and conflict resolution. So welcome, Emma. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we know it feels like we really have hit an inflection point. We hope we've hit an inflection point. There's harmful speech everywhere. How do we recognize harmful, but they seem to be really convincing patterns in speech, especially political speech?
I think the first thing to do is to ask a series of questions. Maybe ask yourself, what are they trying to accomplish here? Like, dig a little deeper. Based on what they're saying, does it seem like the goal is to solve a problem? Or maybe it seems like it's actually designed to sow division. And that simple question will kind of get you at least thinking critically about what they're saying. And then I think, tools like the Dignity Index, one of our partners at Turn Toward, can help recognize those patterns because it can be kind of tricky to do so. So having kind of like a rubric to ask questions, is this dehumanizing someone, whether subtly or directly? Is it building on fear? Is it kind of appealing to those emotions that kind of get us to act and react? Or is it appealing to our maybe our better angels, the ones that want to want to build bridges. So I think just those simple questions are a good starting point to recognizing harmful patterns in speech.
Emma, what can you advise us in terms of de-escalation, and how do we de-escalate tense or even potentially dangerous situations that might come about?
So there's the 4 Ds are kind of a method a lot of us use and talk about in this field. The first one is to be direct, and you don't have to use all 4 of these. Let me just be clear. You might choose from a suite of these. Some of them might work in different situations, but the direct one would be to tell someone to stop being threatening or harassing someone if you're in a position to do that. The next D would be to delegate. If you're uncomfortable or it's unsafe for you to be the one who's direct, delegate to someone nearby. Is there someone around who can assess and intervene? Sometimes it's just distract. You want the situation to end quickly and peacefully, so you distract. Spill a drink, pretend like we know someone else, engage in a chat with someone else, do something that kind of turns it somewhere else just to get out of the situation. And then the fourth one could be a delay. You may not be able to intervene, but you could maybe check, and if it's someone else that's being impacted, you could check on them, turn your attention to them, give space for them, check on their safety. So kind of delay and put the attention somewhere else. So those are, in an actual situation, those are the 4 Ds. There are other things you can do to kind of prevent those situations, but if you're in it, think about the 4 Ds.
Emma, while we've been really talking about bringing civility back to the public square and engaging in dialogue, and yet I sometimes see a sense of, or hear a sense of helplessness and hopelessness, because it's like, well, I'm not an elected official and I don't really have, XYZ influence. What can the everyday person who wants to be a peacemaker, what can we do?
Yeah, I mean, first, just my vote of confidence. I have seen this in action over the years that I've been running MWAG. Our members have just been so beautiful at this. I follow them on social media. I see them in real life. I watch them. And so it is absolutely possible for one person to start a movement that others follow along with. When they see you acting in a way that cares for others, that de-escalates, that it can turn the tide and inspire others. So I promise I've seen this in action. I think the first thing the average person could do is to get ahead of inevitable misinformation. Just commit to really having some good media literacy habits. Question the motivations and incentives of your sources. Consume your social media and your mainstream media with a critical eye, and verify information. Double check it. Doesn't mean it has to be a full-time job, but if you see something that makes you upset, maybe verify it from another source before you share it. So just that kind of basic prevention of misinformation is a great thing. And then you yourself, before you respond to something, consider a few things and consider the timing. Is it important to produce a fast response, or maybe timely is better, which means balancing speed with care and accuracy? I had this happen to me on social media this weekend. I posted something, someone disagreed with it. I felt defensive. I wanted to respond immediately and say why I was right. I gave it a few hours. I came back. I thought about it. I read something that was related to their point. And then I said, you know what? I see your point. It felt really good to do that. Like, it's not weak to do that. I'd say it's powerful. It's powerful to do exactly what Governor Herbert said and say what might be right about what they're saying. It will improve you as a person and make you feel better about your fellow humans if you do that.
Emma, what can you tell our young people right now who might be fearful about the future and where we are, and in light of what's happened recently and in light of the dialogue that our generation, our older generation, is creating and not doing a very good example of?
I say harness maybe an innate desire or an age-appropriate desire that you have to be counterculture, and run counterculture to the rest of us, to those of us who've created the problem or perpetuating it. I'm seeing an amazing movement on college campuses there's an organization called Bridge USA. Their leader, Manu, he is all over the country, gearing up and getting young American college students in particular to just push back on this notion that we need to stay in our separate camps and really not just engage in dialogue, but really understand one another. So use that motivating feeling that you have that's age appropriate at your age, that you kind of want to do something different, and really kind of harden that into a strong resolve to do better.
One final question. Can you tell our listeners about the new Turn Toward Us coalition?
Yeah, so there are a number of groups here in Utah who work on bridge building, peace building across the U.S., and it turns out that a lot of the leaders of these organizations live in Utah. So we decided to get together. We were each were doing individual efforts that we hope were meaningful. But how great would it be if we all came together and kind of figured out what we could agree on and spoke as one voice? So we started an initiative called Turn Toward, and the website is turntoward.us. We're going to be launching an Instagram account shortly. And our goal is to provide you, the people of Utah, with actionable, meaningful resources that can help you turn toward each other in times of difficulty and of contention, and not just philosophically do so, but actually have the practical skills. So, and this is, lots of different organizations are contributing to that, both at the national and the youth, but many Utah groups and people. So we're trying to customize it too for kind of the culture and the people of Utah, so it's meaningful to you.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with Emma Adams, the co-executive director for Mormon Women for Ethical Government, but also part of this new Turn Toward Coalition. And you can find that at turntoward.us. When we talk about civil dialogue, we also need to think about how we are showing up, how we are engaging, and how we are taking care of ourselves so that we can bring our best selves to the conversations. More in this discussion when we come back.
Higher taxes, soaring inflation, record low interest rates, and the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. The list goes on. Retiring successfully today is a lot more complicated than ever before. Learn how you can tackle the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement today. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio. It's this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Respiratory virus season is quickly approaching, meaning we'll see more flu, COVID, and RSV in our community. The good news is vaccines are available that will help prevent these infections and keep people healthy. For flu and COVID, everyone aged 6 months and older are recommended to be vaccinated to help protect ourselves and our families against serious illness. Fall remains the best time to be vaccinated. Respiratory viruses circulate year-round, but peak late fall through winter. Your doctor can recommend which vaccines are best for you and your family.
Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-486-9600. That's 800-486-9600.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since 1931, the Utah Museum of Contemporary Art has been a gathering place for artists and creatives in the region, fostering inspiration, collaboration, and innovation. Here to share some exciting updates, development strategist Caitlin Mills joins us with more.
We're thrilled to share 2 exciting updates from the Utah Museum of Contemporary Art. First, UMOCA recently launched the Assemblage Art Fund, providing targeted support for visual artists and collectives in Salt Lake County. Through Assemblage, 6 to 12 artists will receive grants for their project. This initiative is made possible by the Andy Warhol Foundation, and inaugural recipients will be announced on October 24th at our annual Halloween Bash. On September 26th, UMOCA celebrates the opening of Elizabeth Molaska's solo exhibition, awarded through the 2025 Catherine Doctorow Prize for Contemporary Painting, a biennial award supported by the Jarvis and Constance Doctorow Family Foundation. That same evening, Oscar Tuazon's Salt Lake Water School closes with experimental projections on its structure, emphasizing the work's urgent reflection on the Great Salt Lake's environmental future.
The Utah Museum of Contemporary Art continues to play a vital role in Utah's arts community, inspiring creativity, supporting local artists, and bringing innovative projects to life. Discover more about their programs, exhibitions, and ways to get involved at utahmoca.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine.
the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
When we talk about civil dialogue, one of the things that is important to me is self-reflection, right? I have to turn inward to say, how am I showing up? Am I coming to this with anger? We've talked with our guests about, are we trying to show up and prove a point? Are we really open to listening? How are we engaging? And, there's a really interesting approach, and I try to learn from as many different modalities as I can. This one comes from Hawaiian culture. It's called Ho'oponopono, and it starts with saying 4 really important phrases, using these regularly. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And I've seen some articles about even people in corrections, so with working with incarcerated individuals, especially in areas where there's a lot of anger and stuff going on, that it was the people in corrections who were applying this principle of Ho'oponopono to say, how will I show up differently if I am saying that? And they do, right? So it's one of the things that I think is really important. And we know words matter, even the words we say to ourselves.
And in that respect, you wrote an article recently about words. Tell us what you were thinking and what got you to write that.
So one of the things was just there were so many words flying around, especially after the Charlie Kirk assassination. But there's other instances as well, right, where people react maybe too quickly, too quick to label, too quick to throw words around. And words can heal. They have power, but they can also be very, very damaging. And so my point in writing the article is I really want everyone to think about, what is it I'm saying? What am I writing? What am I putting online? What am I speaking? And also, how am I listening? How am I showing up that way?
Does it apply to our young people as well in the same way? And what can they gain from understanding their words?
Absolutely. And again, I think words have power. And we've talked about what are we modeling for our kids in our homes, but also what are we modeling for the greater community? And if they see us stomping around at home and swearing and, calling groups of people different names, I think they're going to learn from that. But if they see us saying, this makes me really sad, and I'll have to be honest, it makes me really angry also, but here's what I want to learn from this, and here's how I want to approach this, and I have questions, right? And I know that there are people that I love on both sides of whatever issue this is, and I think that's part of the power of words. And yeah, it applies to kids all the way up to very old people as well.
And this event that we had at Utah Valley University involved an individual, Charlie Kirk, whose words, as we've heard, are both popular and divisive, but they're his words. Right. And what do you suppose we could learn from what he was doing and what he was trying to do and him going to campuses and talking to our young people?
I think the best thing we can pull out from that is that Charlie Kirk was willing to show up and engage, right? You may disagree with his words for sure, but he was showing up and he was going places and saying, prove me wrong. That was the title of his tour that he was on. And it was an invitation for a conversation. And sometimes we shut down the conversation when we just say, I don't want to engage, right? We shut that down. But at least on that level, Charlie was willing to go out and say, engage with me, talk with me. And that is, I think, something we can take away from what he was doing. Again, the words he was saying, some people found highly offensive, some found highly inspirational, highly motivating, but words do have power.
Yeah, we spoke earlier this week with Sharon Eubank, a Director of Humanitarian Services and former First Counselor in the Relief Society, a General Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and she talked about service, Holly, and I thought her message was really powerful.
I think one of the things that we learned from Sharon Eubank is that service can be a balm, right? But sometimes people feel really overwhelmed. So sometimes, instead of using our words, sometimes we're going to go out and we're going to serve communities that maybe we're not comfortable with, or we're going to serve in an area that we really care about. She explained how service can be beneficial both for the giver and the receiver.
If we feel pushed, then we need that replenishment. But when we choose to serve in whatever way is our passion. Yesterday I was over at the Episcopal Church with an interfaith group talking about the Great Salt Lake. It's an issue I really care about. And I was standing next to people from other faiths. Maybe we vote differently, we look differently, but we care about this issue. And I left there feeling so excited. When we connect with an issue that is important to us, instead of being a chore, it becomes a blessing. It's good for our mental health. It's good for our communities. And I'm always looking, how can I help people connect with something they really care about and then feel that uplift?
Yeah, she also encouraged us to find common ground like we do with sports, music, food, service.
Of course, people always disagree. We disagree about lots of different things, but there are certain things in our culture and our society that bring us together. And they're really simple things. And I tried to talk about them in one of the chapters. Sports, a cross-section of people, music, food, and service. And all of those things give us some kind of common ground that we can come together on. So it's important for me and for lots of people to be able to say, we aren't the same in so many ways, but we care about, the food that our kids eat in their cafeteria, or we care about this sports team that we all love. Let's build on those things.
I think that's right. And I think that's part of this civility, right? And bringing civil back to civil discourse. Sometimes we can be afraid of things we don't understand, things or people. And Sharon shared a story about her own experience.
There's different panhandlers that stand around my office building. And there's one, she's just very assertive. And I'm so scared of her that I walk across the other side and go in the other side of my building. And I was going into the building with my colleague, and she said, "Hey, Marilyn, so nice to see you." And they had this beautiful discussion, and I said, "How do you know her?" She said, "I met her in the crosswalk, just like you." But they knew each other, and they talked about each other's families. Instead of being a panhandler, she was a mother, she was a friend, and I realized that exchange, that dignified exchange, I was missing out on all of that because I was going around the building on the other side. Mm-hmm. So I love that exchange. Marilyn has something to offer me. I have something to offer Marilyn. We're not any different from each other. We just have to have that equality and that dignity.
And then she gave advice on how to replenish ourselves.
There's so many things in our culture and our society that we have to do just to, live our lives every day. Some of them are reading the news, listening to things, but it is depleting because there are so many difficult things, and we feel the heavy weight of that. And I've said this before, but I don't think we don't ever mind that we plug in our phones to get, power out of that. We don't mind that I plug in my car or I put gas in it because we have to replenish ourselves, and we need to replenish ourselves. In faiths, there are built-in breaks like a Sabbath or a time of refreshment to bring ourselves back to God and get grounded in that. And when we're working in volunteerism, and I'm guilty of it, my gosh, it feels so heavy and difficult. And I'm looking always for those opportunities to replenish myself so that I can keep going.
I think one of the things that I know for myself is that if I want to engage in civil dialogue, if I want to learn from people that I don't understand or don't agree with, that I'm going to show up a lot better if I feel like my emotional bucket is filled, right? If I feel like I've taken care of myself, if I'm coming from a point of sleep deprivation and I haven't eaten well and I'm tired and angry, I'm not going to show up as my best self.
Yeah, and what do you suppose our young people can know about service, about what they can do, about how they can participate, how they can get involved in ways that might give them some solace about what's happening in our community and in our country right now?
I think there's so many ways, and an easy way is to go to justserve.org, and they can find something locally. But even like Sharon said, find something you're passionate about. There's always places to volunteer. If you care about food, volunteer with that. If you care about the environment, volunteer in places there. There's lots of different ways.
Yeah, there really are. And I really like the idea of service, and I think that we do that better in this state and with this community than anywhere in the country. We're known for that. We should be known for that, and it's something we need to revisit that. We need to understand that. Yeah, it's service is part of what we do, part of what our culture is about, and let's continue and expand on that.
It's a key component.
As we conclude this special hour, I want to remind our listeners of something Governor Spencer Cox said after the tragic killing of Charlie Kirk that took place at Utah Valley University.
This is our moment. Do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice.
So we ask you, whoever's listening to us right now, what is your choice? Who will you choose, and how will you choose to escalate?
Or will you choose to take the off-ramp to civility and lead by example for the next generation? Thanks for joining us for this special hour.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Midday. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story. Utah lawmakers are working under a court-ordered deadline to redraw the state's 4 congressional districts. Today, they're walking through new map proposals. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live at the Capitol with the very latest. Eric?
Maria, committee leaders opened today's meeting by making it clear they don't like the process, but they're following the court's orders. Right now, they're going through the proposed maps one by one and explaining how they line up with the rules laid out in Prop 4. They've also opened a 10-day public comment period where Utahns can weigh in on the maps. But committee chair, Representative Candice Perucci, says there's a big catch.
So while we can and will consider the public's input on which proposed map to choose, we cannot use the public's feedback to make the changes or adjustments we might otherwise make in a legislative process.
There will not be a vote today. Lawmakers will return October 6th to pick one map to recommend to the legislature, a decision that will shape Utah's representation in Congress for the next decade. Live at the Capitol, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
The Utah County Commission will hold a meeting later today during which they will vote on who will represent Tyler Robinson in court. Robinson is the man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk at UVU 2 weeks ago. The judge says he's eligible for a public defender, but there are very few lawyers in the state who are qualified to work on capital murder cases. The meeting takes place at 2. We will talk to Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner about this coming up at 12:15. You can listen live on air or on the KSL News Radio app. KSL's top national stories. A second detainee has died after a shooter opened fire on an ICE facility in Dallas. 3 people were shot, 2 have now died. The third is in critical condition. Authorities didn't give details as to who was shot, but said that no ICE agents were harmed. FBI Special Agent in Charge Joseph Rothrock says the investigation is still ongoing, but he mentioned what they found at the scene.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Police say the suspected shooter opened fire from an elevated position and that he died from his self-inflicted gunshot wound. In the wake of a shooting at the ICE facility in Texas, security is being increased around other ICE facilities nationwide. ABC's Alex Stone has more on that effort in Southern California.
At a large ICE processing center in San Bernardino County, the Sheriff's Department says it is taking proactive steps to ensure the safety and security of all personnel and detainees at the site. It's owned and operated by a private company working for ICE. The Sheriff's Department says in the wake of the violence in Texas, it's increasing patrols around the ICE processing center and is actively monitoring potential threats, but that it's out of an abundance of caution and there are no direct threats to the San Bernardino County site. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Other national stories KSL is following this hour. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky told the United Nations today that the international diplomacy is failing his country and that the only way to stop the fighting is to fight back militarily. ABC's Ian Pannell says Zelensky is also concerned about the high-tech military equipment that Russia is using in Ukraine.
He lamented the triumph, what he said, the triumph of violence and weapons over peace and unified action. He said that stopping drones was the hardest of all challenges, not just faced by Ukraine, but potentially faced by every country on earth.
He said Russia has left Ukraine no other choice but to develop this new generation of not just air, but also land and sea drones, saying what new weapons can do to old expensive systems should be a wake-up call to everyone. Breaking news on KSL News Radio. Police have identified the man and woman found dead in their home in Midvale yesterday. Unified Police Department says 65-year-old Eileen Lyon and 63-year-old Terry Lyon were found just after 11 after officers were called to do a welfare check. Police say based on preliminary findings, they suspect it could have been a murder-suicide. A program designed to support foster families is officially launched in Utah after 2 years of testing in the state. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis has more.
Care Communities creates a team of about 8 to 10 people, assigning them to help a new foster family out with chores, meals, and errands while the family adjusts. Director of Care Communities, Tammy Carson, says in an Instagram post this model is helpful not just for the foster parents, but kids too.
The children in their care now have safe adults in their lives who are an additional support in their family.
Utah First Lady Abby Cox has been heavily involved in the process to bring the program here, advocating for its use, raising funding, and helping with ideas to modify the program for Utah. You can get involved by going to utahfostercare.org. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
First look traffic. Let's check in now with Heather Kelly.
We've got several crashes along the Wasatch Front, a couple in Salt Lake County, one up in Davis County. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:05.
Fall is football season. Hi, this is Doug Wright. You know me as Utah's Mr. Sports, and I know that nothing goes better with fall football than looking forward to a delicious meal after the game at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We're so fortunate we've got 2 locations, one in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple, or of course up in the Park City area at Hotel Park City. You can count on the meal prepared perfectly to your tastes. Each and every steak is served sizzling hot on a 500-degree plate, and if you happen to not be in the mood for steak, their entrees are incredible, from seafood to poultry. Sometimes they have specialty entrees on the menu, and of course their desserts are legendary, and the side dishes that you pass around the table to share are wonderful. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It's fall. It's time to enjoy football and a delicious meal from Ruth's Chris.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Thank you for joining us for Midday, recapping our top local story. Utah lawmakers are back at the Capitol today to talk about the new proposals for redrawn congressional maps. They need to have maps available for the public comment period starting tomorrow. KSL News Time, 12:07. A rideshare driver in Sandy is facing kidnapping and sexual assault charges. A relative of the victim says they arranged a ride for her the night out of concern so she wouldn't be able to drive herself home safely. KSL's Deanie Wimmer reports.
But investigators say the driver ended up driving her around for hours. She eventually walked home after escaping the car. Angela Lang, the survivor of a different alleged assault, says riders can never be too prepared.
Many smartphones these days have location sharing capabilities. Look into that. Find somebody trusted that you can do that, who's watching out for you.
Police say the best thing is to keep in contact with someone while in the car, potentially talking on the phone during the whole ride. Community members and advocates in Tooele County met to discuss resources for victims of sexual assault. The county has the highest reported rate of sexual assault, over twice the national average. Tooele Advocacy Coordinator Jenny Lynn Potter tells KSL TV they encourage calls no matter when the assault happened.
We get sexual assault survivors who call and say it happened the night before. We get people who call and it was something that happened 20 years ago and they never reached out, they never got help.
At the meeting, experts discussed misconceptions about assault and offered advice for loved ones. They say even a phone call offering some support can make a huge difference. There is a rape recovery center in the area to offer professional free support. The Division of Wildlife Resources is calling on hunters to watch out for more than just big game this fall. KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi has the story.
Autumn is the season for hunting in Utah. It's also a good time to catch people who are hunting illegally or poaching. Utah Division of Wildlife Resources spokesperson Faith Heaton-Jolly says there are only 50 officers to cover the entire state, so they need hunters to help them find poachers, and that includes people who waste wildlife.
Because in Utah, it is illegal to waste the wildlife, so you cannot just harvest the head for those antlers.
Heaton-Jolly says if you suspect someone is poaching, get a license plate number and description of the vehicle, but don't confront the person. She says there are about 1,000 animals poached each year. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things are looking pretty good speed-wise across the Wasatch Front, but we do have a couple of crashes. They're on the west side of the Salt Lake Valley. The first one is on the transition ramp from southbound I-215 as you take the ramp that'll take you eastbound 201 freeway. Now, it is on the right shoulder, but it's around a blind curve, so just use a bit of caution in the area. The other one is on the 201 freeway itself. It is heading westbound, approaching Redwood Road. It's over on the right shoulder, not causing any delays at all. And we did have a crash up in Davis County in Clinton, but that just cleared a few minutes ago, so you shouldn't have any issues there. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Wonderful Wednesday weather on tap. I got sunshine today with a high of 80 degrees. 57 overnight, cooling off nicely with mostly clear skies. Tomorrow will be mostly clear, 84. We drop to 83, partly cloudy by Friday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
And it's such a lovely day, sunny and 72 degrees downtown. Coming up on midday with Maria Chaleos. Utah County Commissioners will vote today on who will represent the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk. We'll talk to Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner on the cost and what they're considering. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. Sponsored by At Your Service Pros. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, want to hear something great? Right now at Wendy's, you can get 2 of the #1 selling bacon cheeseburger in all fast food, the JBC, plus medium fries and a medium soft drink for just $8. Want to hear something else great? Double the burger means double the bacon. Now that's a game changer. 2 of the #1 bacon cheeseburgers with fries and a drink for just $8. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Individual items at regular price.
The Social Security Administration just announced they are now projected to run out of money 1 year earlier than expected. Benefits could be cut by as much as 23%, and the average person could lose more than $100,000 in lifetime income. This news could significantly change when you file for Social Security. Discover how you could get every penny out of your benefits with a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $300,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. This free, customized analysis could help you get every penny out of Social Security. Call 801-896-9622. That number again, 801-896-9622.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
KSL News Time, 12:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
Utah lawmakers are reviewing new congressional maps today with 10 days for public comment before an October 6th vote. I'm KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
Second, Unified Police have now identified the 2 people they believe were involved in a murder-suicide in Midvale. They say they found 65-year-old Eileen Lyon and 63-year-old Terry Lyon yesterday after officers were called to do a welfare check. Third, traffic and weather together, Heather.
We've got a crash southbound I-215 near the 201 freeway ramps, as well as one on the 201 freeway westbound toward Redwood Road, but neither are causing any delays. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Another beauty today with highs right near 80 degrees. I'm Matt Johnson.
Sunny, 72 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The investigation into a deadly shooting at an ICE detention facility in Dallas continues. Homeland Security now says 3 detainees were shot and 2 are dead. Those numbers differ from the first briefing when the Dallas police chief, along with ICE and FBI officials, and one victim was deceased. Authorities also say the shooter was found dead. The FBI calling it a targeted attack, but say no law enforcement officers were injured. ABC's Maria Villarreal is on scene in Dallas.
We needed to press, the FBI who was here on the ground about why exactly they weren't giving us more information about the victims here, why they weren't telling us they were detainees. They said at this point that it's just not something they're ready to release, but they were obviously ready to release information on the evidence that was found here.
Authorities describe preliminary evidence from messages on bullets to be anti-ICE in nature. ABC News contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett says police have had to secure the facility.
The issue quickly is they're going to have to sweep all the other buildings in the proximity of where this shooting occurred. And they're also going to have to quickly figure out who this guy is, where he's from, who he's connected to.
ICE officials say they're increasing security at other detention facilities. On the sidelines of the UN, Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with his Russian counterpart today. In a readout following the meeting, the State Department says Rubio reiterated, quote, President Trump's call for the killing to stop and the need for Moscow to take meaningful steps toward a durable resolution of the Russia-Ukraine war. Earlier, Ukraine's President Zelensky addressed the UN General Assembly, saying world leaders are not doing enough.
Even during bloodshed, there isn't a single international institution that can truly stop it. That's how weak these institutions have become.
On Wall Street, stocks are down this hour. You're listening to ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. Today at 2, the Utah County Commission will vote on who will represent Tyler Robinson in court. He's the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk at UVU. Joining me now live is Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner. Thank you for being with me today.
Absolutely.
What can we expect from this meeting this afternoon?
This meeting will be voting on a contract. The Utah County Commission has been working closely with a consultant, Greg Skordas. We actually hired Greg last year to help us when we have to sign contracts or find defense counsel for conflict counsel or aggravated murder. And so he was able to help us find a couple of different potential contracts, and we have several before us that we will vote on, and which one will become the defense counsel.
We know that these death penalty cases take years and years. Describe for us the process. I mean, who pays for this?
Yeah, the legislature set up a process where counties pay the majority of the cost for indigent defense. That includes defense in death penalty cases. So these dollars, they come from the county general fund, which is funded by local property taxes and sales tax. So unfortunately, our community is feeling the impact of an increase of violent crime as we grow. And in many of these cases, the person we're prosecuting doesn't even live in our county, but our taxpayers here in Utah County are covering the cost to house them in the jail, prosecute, and in most cases, their defense as well.
Yeah, most of us have no idea how much money this would be. How much is it going to cost?
All said, the defense will probably cost us around $2 million over the next several years. And in the county administrative office is the one that has to find that money and then find the contract to be paid.
You mentioned that you have several contracts that you're looking at. I mean, what do you look at? What do you consider in making a decision?
So I personally rely very heavily on our consultant. Greg Skordas is who we currently have because he is an experienced defense counsel expert. I don't have a background in this, and that's part of our responsibilities. And so we rely heavily on those experts. What we're looking at is we want someone that's going to do a good job. We want someone that's going to be competent in counsel for two reasons. One, we have a constitutional right to defense, and we want to make sure that these constitutional rights of the defendants are being upheld. Second, when something is done well and done right the first time, it costs taxpayers less money in the long run. If you don't have good, competent defense, that opens the door for appeal after appeal. So we want things done well, and we want them done right the first time.
Commissioner, I appreciate your help. Thank you so much for being with me.
Absolutely.
Live on the KSL Newsline, that is Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we don't have too many delays right now on any of the major freeways across the Wasatch Front, but you will encounter a couple of crashes. One of them is on the transition ramp from southbound I-215 to head east on the 201 freeway. That is over on the right shoulder of that connecting ramp. And it looks like it may even be partially blocking the lane there, so just use caution as you take that ramp. And then if you are westbound 201 freeway in West Valley, there's also a crash in the final cleanup stages just before you get to Redwood Road. That's on the right shoulder. It looks like they're just about to pull back into traffic, so that really shouldn't affect too many people. And then if you are trying to get into Parley's Canyon, no issues eastbound or westbound. Your fall one tank trip starts in Cedar City, Parowan, and Bryan Head. Scenic byways and highways, live theater, mountain biking, chairlift rides, ATVing, vibrant art, food, and downtown. Visit cedarcity.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast, 80 today, sunshine, absolutely perfect. 84 tomorrow, mostly sunny. 83 and partly cloudy on Friday. Saturday, keeping a mix of sun and clouds, 82. We're down to 79, mostly cloudy skies on Sunday, 30% chance for a shower. Partly cloudy conditions prevail Monday, Tuesday, with highs in the upper 70s. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Hard to complain about this beautiful weather. Sunny, 72 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. And the 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. Quick check with the markets at this hour. Well, you can probably complain about those. Seeing a lot of red. The Dow right now down by more than 168 points. Complete update coming up next.
The Garden Restaurant has been open for a few months, and if you haven't stopped by, now is the time to get downtown and check out what everyone's been raving about. And if you have visited the new space, schedule a time to come on back. Grab a friend and come visit one of Salt Lake's best gathering spots for lunch. You'll be greeted by the delicious smell of fresh baked goods like our famous Lionhouse rolls, perfect for taking home for family dinners. Or maybe you have a sweet tooth and are craving one of our brand new cinnamon rolls. They're the size of a dinner plate and perfect for sharing between a group of friends. Come smell and taste the garden for yourself. Enjoy the beautifully reimagined space and convenient location with new street access on the ground floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building. Open weekdays 11 to 3. Choose from healthy and delicious options like the turkey pot pie, jalapeno pork and grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato bisque soup, and nut and berry salad. All favorites not to be missed. So much to choose from. Check out the menu at thegardenslc.com. Fresh flavors, iconic location. The Garden Restaurant.
That leaf pile is 100 feet tall. Your dad can't handle this. Not without the right equipment.
Yard work piling up? Gear up for fall with John Deere.
Get $750 off select mowers, $2,000 off select Gator UVs, and $3,000 off select compact tractors.
Did I hear your dad got a John Deere? Yep, bad day to be a leaf pile.
Gear up for fall at an authorized John Deere dealer, now through September 30th. Learn more at johndeere.com/gearupforfall.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KSL News Time 1224. School districts are turning to some high-tech solutions to try to prevent the next shooting or attack. But the tech has been blamed for not catching incidents like the Antioch High School shooting in Nashville. Administrators say a $1 million system failed to detect the gun that was used in the shooting.
It's the fear of becoming the next Proctor or the next Antioch that's driving demand for new solutions. What we know does work, experts say, is having students and staff that are alert, aware, and able to spot potential problems, and also a decidedly low-tech maneuver, locking doors. In a recent school shooting in Minneapolis, a school official credited locked doors with saving countless lives.
That is ABC's Aaron Katursky reporting. Watching Utah's Money, if you've had AT&T, you might be eligible for some of the company's $177 million data breach settlement. It stems from a lawsuit claiming the company failed to protect vulnerable data. The NFL could start renegotiating its media rights deals as soon as next year. CNBC reports it's a few years early, but could add billions of dollars to media deals. It comes after major money was put into deals with the NBA and NHL. Cracker Barrel is trying to win customers back after the rebranding logo debacle. It'll be offering $5 endless pancakes on National Pancake Day, which is this Friday. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow down by 162 points, more than 0.25%, sitting at 46,130. S&P down by 29 points. The Nasdaq down by just a little over 0.5%, down 116 points. The company behind Edible Arrangements is adding a new item to its offerings, edibles.
Edible Arrangements is known for its candy, flowers, and bouquets of sliced fruit bought in-store or delivered to a home or office. The company behind it is now interested in
helping with restful sleep, relaxation, or pain management,
and is selling THC-infused edibles and beverages online. Edibles.com General Manager Thomas Winstanley says the delivery will be discreet.
They will be using an Edible Arrangements truck
with fruits and flowers on the side. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Shop with any Mountain America credit or debit card for a chance to win a $5,000 vacation voucher. Simply tap, insert, swipe, or click to be entered to win now until October 31st. Use any card, win any trip from Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/anycard for official rules or to apply. Loans on approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Insured by NCUA. Limited time offer. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time.
Plan your escape to the Overlook Hotel. Enjoy crisp mountain air, breathtaking views, and peace and quiet. Maybe too quiet? Based on Stephen King's thrilling novel, The Shining, Jack Torrance's descent into madness at the Overlook Hotel comes to life on stage. Just in time for Halloween, October 11th to 19th at the Haunted Capitol Theater. Tickets start at $26 at utahopera.org/redrum.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the freeways are looking pretty good right now all across the Wasatch Front. The last crash that we had on the connecting ramp from southbound I-215 to go east on the 201 freeway just pulled away. So all the lanes are open now, including on the 201 freeway. You do have delays on some of the city streets, though, especially in Lehigh on Pioneer Crossing and 2100 North, where we have a lot of construction barrels in place, and that backs people up from time to time. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hey, look for sunshine today, high of 80 degrees. Overnight, 57. And tomorrow, 84 degrees, mostly sunny skies. We'll drop to 83 with partly cloudy conditions by Friday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Sunny and 72 degrees downtown. Provo at 70 degrees. And Logan, chilly, 69 degrees. And in Park City, 59.
You're listening to Midday with Maria Chaleos
on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 1230. KSL's top story this hour. We are gathering more details about a kayaker who died at Echo Reservoir last night. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
The Summit County Sheriff's Office is now telling us the victim is a 56-year-old man from Salt Lake County who, according to authorities, was out on the water by himself but was in contact with family shortly before he went missing. Authorities say his adult son was the one who called for help. Ty Hunter with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation was out on a boat during the search and rescue operation last night and confirmed to me the man was not wearing a life jacket.
That one simple thing that could have fixed this all is having a life jacket there. That could have bought that individual more time for somebody to come and help him.
Hunter says they found the man about 40 feet beneath the surface, and with water temperature starting to cool down more and more, Hunter says it's crucial for people to not only wear a life jacket at all times while on the water, but to also have someone out with you in case something goes wrong. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Police are still investigating what they suspect was a murder-suicide in a Midvale home. Unified Police Department says 65-year-old Eileen Lyon and 63-year-old Terry Lyon were found just after 11 after officers were called to do a welfare check. The news is hard to believe for next-door neighbor Megan, who tells KSL TV she was taken in as a niece after moving in.
I spent the wife's birthday at the 4th of July birthday party. They crashed my 28th birthday party last year and just hung out, and I got to know them at the barbecues.
Megan says she's only ever seen the husband act caring towards his wife. We don't know yet what the cause of death was or how long they might have been there before police arrived. Roy police say the driver accused of hitting a woman before taking off has turned themselves in. The hit and run was originally reported yesterday morning around 3100 West and 4800 South. A 51-year-old woman was found injured in a yard just outside of a home. Police department thanked everyone for their help in the search, leading to the driver turning themselves in. Colleges across the state are reviewing their security after the death of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Salt Lake Community College has decided to pause all outdoor speaking events. In the meantime, KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The college says they'll be carefully reviewing safety practices for their outdoor events, and in the meantime, they'll not be having any outdoor speakers. This will go through the end of the month. The college says they want there to be civil discourse between students and speakers who have different perspectives and encourage students to develop their own views through dialogue, research, and critical thinking. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
KSL's top national stories. Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air. The late-night comedian returned to most, but not all, ABC affiliates after he was suspended over comments made in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death. In his monologue, Kimmel thanked those who supported him and defended the ability to exercise his First Amendment rights.
Look, I never imagined I would be in a situation like this. I barely paid attention in school. But one thing I did learn from Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and Howard Stern is that a government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American. That's anti-American.
He also clarified the comments in question and got emotional when he said that it was not his intention to make light of Kirk's death. Kimmel's monologue has already gotten more than 10 million views on YouTube. Disney is the parent company of ABC. Dozens of teachers and faculty members at schools, colleges, and universities have been fired after they made comments about the deadly shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. ABC's Sherry Preston has more on how they are responding.
Several educators who have been fired have filed federal lawsuits challenging their terminations, which they say were for posts on their personal social media accounts. In the complaints, they each argue their First Amendment right to free speech has been violated. American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten says acts of violence and hate must be condemned, but censorship and firing people for their private opinions expressed on their personal time is wrong.
Meanwhile, some GOP lawmakers have called for funding to be pulled at universities where faculty spoke out last week. Other national stories KSL is following. A special election in Arizona last night saw the daughter of a late congressman winning a bid to fill his seat. The filling of the vacancy is likely to have an impact on a push to force the full release of the Epstein files. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
The election of Arizona Democrat Adelita Grijalva to the seat held by her late father Raul was expected. When she's sworn in, Congresswoman Grijalva is due to become the critical 218th member of the House to sign on to a petition that would force a vote on a measure requiring the release of the Epstein files. If that bill were to pass the House, it would go to the Senate and then have to be signed by President Trump in order to become law. GOP leadership opposes the bill, saying it's unnecessary and risks the privacy of not only Epstein's victims, but also his associates who've never been charged with a crime. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
41 people in Utah have now been diagnosed with measles, but the state's health department says they are also examining wastewater and believe that that number is likely much higher. Meanwhile, the Bear River Health Department says 11 unvaccinated babies were treated this week following a possible exposure to measles. Children under a year are not eligible to take the measles vaccine, but were offered a post-exposure vaccine. First look traffic. What's happening, Heather?
Well, we do have a bit of delay in Tooele County SR 36 heading into Tooele County due to construction. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:35.
Amanda, I want to tell people how they can look and feel 10 years younger because it's something you and I already know.
We lost weight with the SOTA weight loss program. I lost 34 pounds, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And I do feel younger. I have more energy, all because I worked through this wonderful program, SOTA weight loss.
And I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight over 5 months, and I actually did get comments, you look incredibly younger. It really felt good.
And I love the example I set for my kids to show them, look, we can celebrate things without having to eat stuff that's bad for our bodies.
And what helps is the accountability. And right now, this is the best way to do it. SOTA's bringing back their most popular offer of the season. Join now, and your partner joins for free in the Partner Program.
So you and your spouse, or you and your best friend, get going with SOTA weight loss.
They're the #1 weight loss company in America for client satisfaction and client results. You can find out by going to their website, SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Because SOTA is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
If Old Spice Deep Sea Super Hydration Body Wash were music, what would it sound like? Start with the deep sounds of Old Spice's ocean waves and kelp. Layer on the smooth, renewing moisture. You wouldn't hear any parabens or phthalates because Old Spice Deep Sea hasn't got any. But you would hear that vitamin B3 for healthier looking skin. So while your regular body wash sounds like this, Old Spice sounds like this. Sounds like it smells amazing.
Thank you for joining us for Midday. Recapping our top local story, the body of a man who went missing at Echo Reservoir has been found. Authorities say the 56-year-old man was not wearing a life jacket. KSL News Time, 12:37. FanX is beefing up security for the convention this weekend. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla has details.
Founder and CEO of FanX Salt Lake Pop Culture and Comic Convention, Dan Farr, says they want people to feel comfortable, especially after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at Utah Valley University just 2 weeks ago. which has since created some concerns with safety and security at large-scale events.
We've been working with the Salt Lake City Chief of Police and several other law enforcement agencies to make sure that this is going to be a very safe event and people will have a good time.
Farr says they've more than doubled security staff and plan to have them stationed inside and out, along with some routine security checks like metal detectors and bag checks. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Among those descending upon Salt Lake City this weekend for the FanX Comic Convention are cast members from the 1970s Happy Days TV series. Anson Williams, who played Potsy on the show, says the greatest thing about being on the show was spreading the word about the Heimlich maneuver invented by his cousin.
Hank, he's actually my second cousin, but I've called him Uncle. He invented the Heimlich maneuver because he had a friend that choked to death. And that's what gave him the motivation to find a better way than slapping on the back.
Williams credits his fame on Happy Days with giving him a platform to help save millions of lives. Williams says he's excited to be back in Salt Lake City this weekend for FanX. Water is Utah's most precious resource, and now state leaders are asking you to help decide how it's managed. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera explains what's at stake.
Utah is holding 4 public meetings in October to shape its new Unified Water Infrastructure Plan, a statewide blueprint that will change how water projects get funded. Michael Sanchez with the Division of Water Resources says they want to hear directly from Utahns.
And this new process, it's bringing us all together and just being more collaborative in that whole process.
The plan stems from a bill passed last year to better coordinate efforts between state agencies and make sure every dollar spent goes toward the projects communities need most. Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, construction in Tooele County is causing some delays for those of you on SR 36 southbound heading into Tooele City. You're going to see those backups from Cimarron Way all the way to 2400 North. That's really the only major delay that we have, especially coming from Tooele County. You do have a little bit of delay in Utah County and Lehigh on Pioneer Crossing, as well as on 2100 North. That too is due to construction, but otherwise you're going to have a great drive, especially on a freeway. No more accidents reported, and things look good throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. The 9th annual My Gluten Free World Expo is being held September 26th and 27th at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Come see over 100 vendors showcasing the best of gluten-free. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Calling for sunshine today. Temperatures right near 80 degrees. Some of us may top in the upper 70s. 57 overnight, mostly clear. 84 tomorrow, mostly sunny. Down to 83, partly cloudy on Friday. How about Saturday, 82? From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
A lot of sunshine. We are enjoying 72 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. And still to come on midday, how will Utah lawmakers decide the fairest way to split up the congressional districts during today's talks on redistricting? We'll talk to a constitutional expert from the Sutherland Institute. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hi, Utah families. We all would do anything we could to boost our children's confidence and set them up for success. And Smile Zemi can help. Smile Zemi is the personalized learning tablet designed for students from kindergarten through 5th grade. Smile Zemi adapts to your child's level and learning style, delivering engaging lessons anytime, anywhere. Each lesson offers just right challenges, not too easy, not too hard, keeping learning fresh, motivating, and confidence building. Visit smilezemi.com to learn more.
When you take your grandkids to Disney, do they know what's in your investment portfolio? Do they even care? They're busy having a great time, and you're busy making memories. At Galileo Wealth Management, we understand the nuts and bolts of retirement planning, our investments, the stock market, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and more. But think about it. What are you trying to do here? Is your goal to beat the S&P? Or is your goal to make memories with your family? Our goal is to give you the confidence to spend in retirement without the fear of running out of money. Call Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management today, 801-516-3227. That's 801-516-3227. or go online to GalileoWealth.com. Let Todd Kim and Galileo Wealth Management help you make memories, not just money.
Thursday on KSL.
I had never heard of this before.
Utah teens at serious risk and afraid to ask for help.
What is sextortion?
Manipulated and extorted online.
Is it increasing? Yes.
I'm KSL investigator Daniela Rivera. We hope this is a report parents and teens will watch together.
We're not stopping it, so we've got to inform the public.
Targeting teens, online extortion. Thursday at 10 on KSL and the KSL Plus app.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KSL News Time 1245. The three things you need to know this hour. First,
Fennec Salt Lake Pop Culture and Comic Convention is working closely with police this year to beef up security for the annual event with heightened community concern. I'm KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla.
Second, there are now 41 diagnosed measles cases in Utah, but health officials say as they look at wastewater, the number could actually be much higher. Third, traffic and weather together, Heather.
And we've got good speeds on all the major freeways, I-15 east and west side belt routes and part of Lee's Canyon, but orange barrels are going to hold you up on a few of the city streets. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Superb September weather today with a high of 80. We go to 84 tomorrow. I'm Matt Johnson.
A lot of sunshine, 72 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The FBI and Dallas police investigating a deadly shooting at an ICE facility today. ICE officials in a statement